bombs will make us ends here. Where the brings death, we must remain. Relive the pain and turn it on down. 'Cause we must live up to our name. Strike once, we can't let go. Strike twice, reap in this war.
The stocks are up! Venom Crest take game 3!
Oh, Malphite. All right, here we go. Just
Still going for this place. You would as Chimera super low.
Trouble, but there's the Rakan coming in for the shielding. The shielding again.
Oh my
IQ.
God!
They lose.
And everyone bow down to Venom Crest, two-time champion.
Sports and welcome to UKEL Division 1 Week 3 Day 1. My name is Quino and I'm joined by the lovely Bandit and Temporal, and today we have Good Chi versus Rise Gaming. How are both of you today?
I'm doing splendid. As you know, I'm a bit of a Four Nations UKEL tourist, but whenever I get to drop by, I just like to watch the scenery.
Absolutely. I'm doing okay. I'm here. I'm very glad that with like zero coordination, we are on for like the fluffy winter core vibes. I think that is very, very cool. That has made my day. So,
I mean, you kind of have to be because, you know,
because it's raining
freezing. It's the winter
outside
split.
and it's
Yeah.
cold.
I'm stuck in Stoke, so you know how that is. You know what I mean? Yeah, pull a face. That's what it's like.
I mean, this is what you get when you drag me out of hibernation, man. That is.
Right, let's start with going through Good Chi. What are your like general thoughts on Good Chi so far?
Temporal?
What are you, Bandit?
Oh, it's all right. It's all right. I'm
sorry.
not sure if we were doing the standings first. Good Chi overall. Very excited for the team. Still, excuse me. Still a roster that like I want to believe in. Coach Unlimited seems to have made a difference. Good Chi historically, I've been excited about them every split, every single split, every iteration. I'm like, that's a team that does damage in an amateur league. And then I've been slightly let down to like varying degrees. With this in mind, I want Good Chi to not let me down. I will see predictions later on. It has that built into it. And if exceeds expectations is what happens, then I'm real happy.
What about you, Bandit? How are you feeling about this roster?
I mean, when I look at Gucci, the thing that I remember most and the thing that stuck with me through most of it was mostly seeing them play together and finding their synergy together. And now that is looking all right for now. But I need to be convinced just a little more. So in their matchup against Rise, I am looking to have some of those biases confirmed today.
Okay. My current mindset towards it all is I see that Brandon and Fastleg, they're the synergy from what I've seen. They seem to like kind of have a lot of control. But I'm kind of excited to see Barone in this top lane because personally, I've not seen too much of it. And I want to know your opinions. Would you reckon this is going to be a key factor in this game, or is it just going to be that synergy in the bot lane?
I think if we're not banning Fiora, it can be. So far, pretty happy with their performance. Likewise, want to see more. Want to see more from Good Chi because if we go back to the pre-split tier list, in my head, it's Good Chi versus Inari to sort of make the top of that now. With some of the teams we expected to do quite well starting to struggle. So it's quietly optimistic, you know. We don't want to get the trumpets out too soon. But we're checking that we've still got them.
And I think it's fair to have those expectations from a top laner in this meta as well, right? When we look at who the carries can be, top lane has been enabled so much more. So now is the time to step up and show your worth.
A 1,000,000% I agree with that. And now we can actually have a look at Rise Gaming to see who they're going against, see the vibe of what's going to be happening. Because from what I know personally is that both of the top laners they're both quite a mystery. And I feel like it kind of comes down to like ban picks and all that. But is there anything else? Because I know some of these players have been quite regular here. I'll start with you, Temporal.
Yeah, Ketsu and Jamsu coming back. Just as some previous members of Good Chi as well. Not a completely rebuilt roster. DDD as well. We got to see the last split. You're wrecking my brain on a tough day, so I can't quite remember. But we have seen Demo and DDD as well. Ketsu and Jamsu, of course, on the Ready Painkillers roster that I think won the split. I think it was 23. Gosh, like I'm aging in real time, and I'm not dealing so well with it. But Ketsuo and Jamsu, normally the melee merchants of the league, Rob would call Jamsu a Brexit support, which I still doesn't quite sit right with me. But melee, engage, make the decision, even if it hurts your own team potentially as thematic as that. And Ketsuo likewise big on melee mages, heavy carry, but we have to make sure he doesn't get overloaded. Against Verdant earlier in the season, their previous game, we saw such a close show from this Rise Gaming, but we need to see them actually get it over the line.
How are you feeling about this, Bandit?
When you ask me how I'm feeling about the Rise matchup, I think it's... I can give you a very politically correct answer and say like, oh, well, there certainly is potential, but they just have to get it done on the Rift. To which I think people are reasonably having some doubts in this roster. And I think it is really up to Shotum to kind of break that mold, break through. And if you can get something spicy, just separate yourself from the rest, because that is what makes a memory stick with me personally.
Okay, so you're talking about like your kind of opinions. We can actually have a look at predictions to see what we all said beforehand, to see if that kind of lines up with what you were saying. Let's have a look. Okay, so I said it was 1-1, and so did Temporo, but you think a 2-0 to Good Chi, Bandit. Tell us about that.
Just on pure what I've been seeing come through, and when I look at Gucci and I see Phrase, which I've had the pleasure of seeing him play previous year, that gives me confidence. And when I look at the lineup of Rise, there's just too many unknowns for me, looking to be proven. So I'm going with the sure thing.
Okay, but what about you, Temporal? Why are you on the fence?
Because I think someone will only 2-0 this series if I predict 1-1. I think if I show a favor for either team, like the classic internalized British sports system, like alters the universe to hurt as many British people as possible and destroy their belief in those who they believe are great at sports or games. So someone's going to win tonight, and I'm definitely going to be wrong, but I'm going to be excited while that happens.
And shout out to the production for framing Temporal's camera in such a way that the conspiracy board behind him is no longer in view. That is appreciated.
I've got to cover that up. They can't know. They can't know for sure.
Just like the government, am I right, Temporal? We got to cover that up. It never happened. What?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, to avoid any legal issues, I think, you know, we should just get into the draft just to protect ourselves.
If you insist.
You know, I said 1-1 because, you know,
it's soon. It's soon. It's just around the corner.
Yeah, I'll talk about my prediction. I said 1-1 because I'm quite impartial. I feel like because Rise Gaming had that forfeit, there is a little bit, just a tad of uncertainty. But
yeah.
you know, that's why I'm quite unbiased towards it. Is that a word, unbiased? It is now.
Unbiased.
But we're getting straight into this draft.
And you can already tell that they did their homework. And as Temporal pointed out, they're taking that Fiora straight off the board. I think it's the only right course of action in this scenario.
Yeah, I think Fiora and some picks like her as well go in also sort of an overwhelm, be it 1v1 or when you've scaled up, finally cutting through the entire team top laner. Gucci not gonna take okay, should be a pretty easy setup for Rise on 1 and 2 for a bot lane here, just because the Varus is gone. They did get in the 2 character bans of Jason Vi, who Rise would really like to play this game, and the current blue one of Wukong in that league not getting through either. So Rise, a late adaptation, should expect to see Rise early pick bot here. They should try and get some power picks through. Good Chi though, big question on 1 of what you actually prioritize when that Wukong's taken away.
Yeah, and when you take that Wukong away, you're also kind of lowering that prio a little bit on the Orianna. And well, thus far I've seen very little surprises come through in the middle lane. So having another mundane pickup there be taken off the board, or at least be lowered in value just a little bit, will give me that inkling of hope that we might see something exciting today.
Fingers crossed. I wouldn't mind this Ashe coming through in Aphelios. Similar sort of story. You want to kite, you want to control the entire game. It means Yunara shouldn't be able to have her Yunara Zeri moment where she just pops forwards and explodes an entire team. So I do like Rise considering that, but going towards scaling themselves.
I feel
Nah,
like
and-
an Ash pick is good, just like in a
it's
general
good.
kind of sense. Because when you don't know exactly what's going on the other side, it's kind of like, okay, let's be, because they seem to be target banning. So trying to avoid any more sort of target banning, I think, is a smarter play.
I wonder, by dropping support there, whether we are going to go all the way down to R5 for Jamsu. I think Rise should maybe schedule it up to 3. It depends what Good G do here. I don't think 2 bans into support given over to Good G is necessarily a good move from Rise. Good G with the Mundo in mind. We might see a Leandri's champion. Rumble still open on the board, but Karash is Orianna the first pick.
And that is an interesting way to approach things, right? Because I think if you are going to take the Ashe and leave your counter pick for support, which is a trend that across Europe we've seen increase in priority, if you want to call it that,
Yeah.
and don't sleep on the fact that Seraphine is still a very capable support that loves to be paired up with Ashe as well. And I think if you are drafting yourself more of those beefy front lines and you can secure yourself the Rise right now, not only would that be funny to cast, you'd also get a pretty beefy front line where you can get away with a more Enchanter style support.
I love the Seraphine shout out. I think a Kellen and Diablo moment from earlier today really highlighted it as well. Nice prediction, Bandit. And it also slows down Fraser's signature Udyr, which, being that melee, a flash bear slap the only way to get over Seraphine's incredible ability to slow and control the front line.
Yeah, and even though the fact that they are already looking in support, freeing them up a little more for their solo lanes here, technically this could still be considered a flex pick as well. Putting it in mid, it has the wave clear. It has been touched on a little bit in the past, but you can put this mid if you are really in a pinch.
I think
R5
it is
mid for Ketsua
smart.
would be so thematic.
Okay, so
it-
next more top laners. That's
Well,
what
yeah,
top
that
we-
lane
means.
is top lane is not allowed right now.
Yeah, we're thinning down this pool quite a lot, and I mean, I really liked up till this far the approach that Rise has to their draft, because the Mundo can still go top as well if you need it to. I think if you're banning out top laners, you're kind of tipping your hand a little bit that you're taking away the worst of these matchups. However, there is so much flexibility in this lineup, because if you really want to stretch it thin, this Ashe can still go support. So I'm not sure how creative Rise are feeling today, but they are not tied down to anything at the moment.
I think this is probably in Jam's pocket. Maybe he just locks in Nautilus after all this is said and done. That would be, I think, the most thematic move for Jamsu. The Jarvan takeaway is a bit weird to me. I don't know if that is calling, that they just want to be sure that they cannot have the Cataclysm set up for Seraphine and Ashe to sort of dominate and control. Syndra pick here. Ketsua's very good at the pick. Syndra Orianna, pretty storied matchup. A lot of pressure on her and Seraphine to coordinate the front line with Scatter the Weak and Seraphine's slowing waves.
Yeah, I usually quite like the Syndra pickup here, but it's really going to depend on that last pick. And if it is going to be another brawling type lock-in, or if we're going to get some actual solid damage coming through, or some more frontline coming through, I think you really have to be aware of that as Gucci. But right now, they're just building something very solid, more focused towards getting themselves ahead and furthering their own game plan, rather than trying to punish these more unorthodox picks coming through.
Ooh, alright. We got rid of some carries. We didn't get rid of Zahen. I think it's been long enough that we're starting to filter down some of the big picks out of tier 1 down into tier 2, tier 3. You can argue the semantics if you like. Last pick here. My money's on a top laner to go up against Zahen. I don't know if Demo's on the Riven. I don't know if he's on the Jax. I was about to call it when the Renekton ban came through and the Ornn followed. I was like, that's a Jax setup. But odds were quite low. Demo will be picking that up against the Zahen. It is not such a Jack's favored matchup as you go later and later, as Zion will have his own creative ways out of what is otherwise a pretty tough 1v1 for an auto attack based character.
Okay, so let's just go. General thoughts. Looking at both of these compositions, which side are you leaning more towards now? We'll start with it.
Go for it.
All right,
Go.
I'll just jump into that, and I really kind of you have this split matchup, and I'm just seeing a lot of vulnerabilities to be engaged upon. The disengagement from Ryze is all right with the Ash Arrow and with the Encore from Seraphine, but it does leave you vulnerable. Puts a lot of weight on the shoulders of Jamsu to get something done in these side lanes.
Absolutely. I think Ryze have the better team composition. However, if I turn those nameplates back on, these are things that Gucci have been playing for years and years and years, and Fraser Zude, frankly legendary at this stage. The guy 8 bans on it for a whole split, just because no one wanted to play against it. No one wanted to see it in their games. No one wanted to risk a loss. So that in mind, I'm still pretty balanced. I think Gucci have an uphill battle, but they've chosen their favorite tools to do it with.
I feel like, judging from what I can tell, Rise Gaming seems to be playing around locking down one kind of instant kill kind of vibe. They've got so much CC there, and it feels like Gucci are playing for more of a, I don't know, more of a longer team fight kind of vibe.
Gucci are definitely going to try and have to find the way in. The approach is difficult, but they're going to have sort of first move, the initiative to go and be like, maybe I found you in the jungle. Maybe I found you rotating between lanes. Maybe we've wrapped through the jungle and scanned vision out, but Rise Gaming will be playing the denial game, slowing them down. Some inherent weaknesses to Udyr Orianna does mean that you're never going to catch Atch and Syndra and Seraphine all together all at the same time.
Yeah, I think the real priority that is going to have to be in this matchup, both for Gucci and for Rise Gaming, is your objective control. Whoever gets on these objectives first is at such a major benefit. They're already one step ahead because your tools of engagement are just quite limited.
Okay. Well, I believe it is time to get straight into it. Gucci versus Rise Gaming. We're all pretty impartial on the desk, but I want to see what our casters think. So please take it away, Toast and Middlecott.
Wonderful. Right, we're going to be on... Oh, hello. We are live. They threw straight to us. They didn't even go back to their faces. We are on your screen. Middlecott and Toast here to take you through Gucci versus Rise. Now, before we think about the draft, before we think about anything like that, Toast, what were your thoughts on this matchup coming in? Who do you think had the edge?
I think it can still go either way. Now, we saw Rise having a bit of have a weaker start against Verdant. They had their own ways. We haven't seen too much from them because obviously they had the bye in the first week. Gucci looking really strong, has been predicted to be one of the stronger teams this split. I think it can still go either way. If they do show our predictions, I did go for the 1-1 here today, but I think you have a different story, don't you?
Oh yeah, I actually, neither of us actually predicted it. Oh, there, oh no, that's not the thing. Damn it, Toast! I thought we were gonna get a prediction graphic. We've got the champions that have been locked in there for you, and here we are. I'm all on that Gucci, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I love Jamsu, I love Ketsuo, but Rise have really been struggling. And I think that whilst the potential is there, it is going to be a big effort from all of the lads on this team to get dubs today, and they need to get dubs on the board today because this is going to be a split that feels very fast for a lot of these teams. You get that sort of pseudo best of two. You play each team once on one day, so it's not like if you lose against a team you can come and beat them in week 6. That's not the way it's going to go down.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think one of the main things I'm excited to see from Rise is that we saw momentarily from Ketsu was that really strong mid lane very early, but unfortunately the team kind of ran out of stamina. If they can kind of build up behind him and be that, allow him to just kind of do what he wants to do. But also, as I think we talked about last time, Ketsuo is a 50-50. He's kind of a wild card whether he will be able to do it. Same with Jamsu. But maybe we hit the gold card on the Twisted Fate
Hey,
draw. You know.
All we're doing is loading that coin. All we're doing is every flip, the more Fed he gets, the more likely that coin's going to land heads every single time. But I think we do need to give a little bit of credence to Gucci, because we can talk about the experience that exists on Rise Gaming. But if you look at players like Fraze, if you look at players like Kuroch, if you look at players like Fastlegged, they have been in this league for so long and done so many good things domestically, and I think that that's why we can talk about this being quite a 50-50 matchup, but the smart money is just edging it slightly towards Gucci, not biased at all.
Not biased at all. Now, something I noticed very early on, so actually, it seems they switched it around on us. They're doing Jax jungle, Mundo top, which is very different from what we saw the last week. If that is correct. So I was a little worried about the Mundo, because we saw the Mundo before not having the strongest start, kind of really getting put in his place by the Aatrox jungle. But if it's a different lane, maybe Jax will be stronger. I do think that on the side of Gucci, they're like top. Their jungle is going to be very explosive. We're going to see a lot of early fights possibly. Or maybe they'll play a little smarter and just kind of allow themselves to farm, allow themselves to build. Whereas on the other side, I do think Rise once again showed a strong bot lane, showed a strong early dominance. I actually seen some a little bit of fighting already in the mid lane.
Yeah. Well, I feel really bad for you, Toast, because this is our first cast together, and I've got to contradict you almost immediately, because whilst the graphics stated that it was going to be Jax in the jungle, no, we're going to have Q on the Mundo in that jungle. But I actually really like seeing both of our top laners here. Barone and Demo came into the league as like fairly unknown players, and whilst Gucci have been getting a lot of wins with their top laner, and Demo on Rise has sort of been struggling for them a little bit more. We've seen strong performances out of both these guys, and I love the fact that they're on carries. There's nothing worse than having two exciting top laners and seeing Ornn versus Sion, nothing happening for the entire game.
No, absolutely. It is playing out as I expected, so, you know, we do see the Udyr starting on the bottom half of the map, pathing to that top. Maybe we'll see an early gank. Could be interesting. Mid lane is kind of being traded back and forth. Bot lane at Rise are pushing in. They are crashing that wave best they can. It is working out the way we kind of thought it might go.
Yeah, it's actually going pretty roughly here for Ketsuo in the mid lane. Interestingly, Orianna has been consistently banned against Gucci because of just how good Kurosh is on that champion. Rise Gaming leaving it open. Ketsuo going, no, I can just take the Syndra and duel right into it. And he's already got half of the CS of Kurosh. If that continues the entire game, then I don't think Rise's chances are particularly good.
That is a little bit stressful coming from the mid lane. Hopefully they can fix it, but yeah. On the other hand, yeah, bot lane, Ashe is, you know, keeping up with it. They are poking them under the tower as well. This is the early dominance we saw against the Verdant. So, will it be enough though? That's the question.
Yeah, it's all about translating. You know, I've not got a Babbel subscription, but I imagine that's what's going on. You get a lot of this early pressure because you've got the double range in that bot lane, but can you actually do anything with it? Cure is spotted on a ward as he makes his way down here, so not going to be able to do anything except grab a little bit of crab meat in the river.
Yeah, no, same thing with Udy. He's grabbing the top one. They haven't interacted yet, which is interesting. I wonder if that's on purpose or not.
Maybe they just don't like each other, and the fact they've passed away from each other has got less to do with gameplay reasons, and maybe it's just personal beef. This is a bit rude from Fraser, just holding that mid lane wave so that Kurosh is going to be able to generate a little bit of a freeze. Ketsuo is not miles behind in terms of the CS at this point, but still, he does seem to be struggling in that lane.
Yeah, no, everyone seems to be kind of catching up now, kind of, you know, middling out a little bit. We're going to see an early call from both sides. We're going to see Yunara and Ashe, you know, simple plays, really. Yeah, I'm interested. One thing we were talking about a little bit was I'm very interested in these bar plays. Like, the side of Gucci seems to be very in your face. We'll just jump into the fight when they have the chance. But they've also, at the same time, got that extra capability of just being able to peel really, really well. I think Rise kind of just looks like a brute force system. It kind of like, you stand in your place, we're going to just try our best to hit you where you stand.
Well, it's very much you get hit with one thing, you get hit with everything. You got the root from Jansu there. When he gets level 6, he can chain that into an Encore, the Syndra, the Ashe, and then you've got the single target DPS of a Jax. Never mind though, as Jamsu having to flash away very early. And this is some of the issues that we were seeing with Rise Gaming. Quite often, it doesn't feel like they are all necessarily on the same page.
No, they do seem to have their own stories at some points, and I think that's why Verdant, when they just started walking at Rise didn't really know what to do. They were kind of like, someone else was on one side of the map. They weren't really together. Whether they can pull together, obviously this is early laning phase. It can be a little more difficult, but in those team fights, I would love to see some improvement from Rise. Like, at the end of the day, I just want to see a good fight. I have no bias in the system, actually.
Oh, yeah, that's what they all say. That's what they all say. Trading in the top lane, actually, is both of these guys are relatively low, but I will say that Barone seems to have got the better end of things. Demo going to be allowed to walk away, but that lane is not in a great spot if this Jax wants to get any CS anytime soon.
I wonder if if the Rise top is aware that the UD is close as well. Oh no, he's actually
he's going to be very aware. He's actually running straight through the lane.
I'm burning the flash. It's great work. It's great work.
Yeah, easy stuff. Kira on the other side, though, is going to be able to get the Dragon, so flash on enemy top laner for Dragon. I'd actually say that Rise are probably going to be a little bit happier with that, but the issue for me with Rise was not necessarily what was going on in the early stages. They had leads in that series versus Verdant Academy, quite significant ones, but they were never able to get it over the line. And I think someone that might be able to do that for them is actually DDD on the bot lane. Has had some pretty quiet games, but with how the Rise Gaming games have been going, try saying that 5 times fast, he's actually been doing all right.
Going.
Yeah, no, that's all caster training, mate. This is basically all that we do whenever we're not on broadcast.
I spend many hours listening to the pronunciations of the players themselves.
That's an important thing. It's really important that you do that.
It's why I fall asleep too. It's what I listen to at work. It's like a podcast, but with like true influence on my life. You know?
Yeah. A podcast where they just say the same 10 names over and over.
Oh no! I've created a supercar. I've got everyone. And
we gotta get that. We gotta get that.
And I've been thinking maybe I'll put it into a playlist. Maybe I'll put it on shuffle. It'd be like, oh, I didn't know he comes so quickly. You know?
Yeah, I mean, we could do that. We could look for a play onto Kurosh in the mid lane. We could flash over the wall and bear down on Jamsu. Shockwave's going to pull him back in as there comes the damage from that Udyr. Frey's getting first blood for himself. Rest of Rise moving over, but just a little too late.
Yeah, no, extremely explosive. Just, it's a good start. It's what we've been seeing. This Udyr has been just kind of roaming this top lane, kind of trying to make fear into Jax. And then he saw the opportunity. Mundo was just a bit late to the party. I think that's going to be a similar action we're going to be seeing most of the game.
Yeah, well, Des was talking about Flash Bear Slaps, and it's not quite 2016 EU LCS or whatever that was culturally relevant, but even post-rework, Udyr still fundamentally does the exact same thing. And it's not a massive lead, and Rise are looking to close it up a little bit here, dropping that CC all onto the Bard, nowhere to go, an easy kill for DDD, and we've got to have the ult and the dash pull from Braindead to get on out of there. Meanwhile, fighting in the top lane, another force flash, this time by Barone.
No, I think that was a good decision from the Bard there. Like, he instead of trying to flee and creating them both in the same kind of style where they both could have got caught, he took all the action, distracted them so the ADC could get away. I think that was a better play that they could have done. They didn't have the vision, so Mundo kind of did take them by surprise. Hopefully they could fix that.
Yeah, but ultimately, it's your lot as a support. Sometimes you just got to lay down your life for your AD carry, and Jamsu is very, very good at dying instead of another member of his team. Does mean that the kills are one apiece, and even though Gucci are going to be able to pick up those Void Grubs, the early Dragon going in favor of Rise means that 8.5 minutes in, pretty even game state.
Yeah, it's good to see almost. I like it. It's not. I hate a game where it's a landslide. It can be interesting. It can make for some fun plays, but at a certain point, it is just like, cool, they got another kill. I do like to see it come back and forth. That makes for a better competitive gameplay, I think.
Yeah, neither team has Forsen on them, so we shouldn't be expecting anything too catastrophic like that. And really, if we look through all of the lanes, none of them have been broken open in a particularly significant way. We've got slight CS lead in top, we've got slight CS lead and that kill lead in jungle, but it hasn't really turned into anything larger than that just yet.
Yeah, interesting enough, the both jungles are going to trade Krugs here, but Mundo isn't going to be greedy enough to get the Raps also like the Udyr, so he is a little bit ahead on that front. But nonetheless, like we're going to see, yeah, we could be building towards Leandries here for the Udyr, which is going to be good. Heavy AP, bit of burn, whereas Mundo, as expected, just belt, health.
Kurosh, he's going to have to get the fancy feed on the Unleashed Power, the flash away, I think. Needed to pay the respect, but obviously the Orianna very immobile, and if Kurosh lands one more scat of the week when Cure is around, then could be cursed for him. We're seeing a dive in the top lane, just going straight under the tower. Demo flashes away after getting the kill. Barone versus Demo, first blood goes to the guy on Rise Gaming.
Not what we expected at all. I think what must have happened there is that, you know, Rise Gaming have seen, oh, Udyr's in the bot half side. This is a safe bet. Zahem was not able to get the stacks, be able to get that res off, where otherwise I think he might have won the fight. But yeah, no, Jack's taking it for good. Wave crashed, good lane state, able to back in time with the Zahen. This is looking good for Rise. Like, this is one of the worries that we had, that they wouldn't be able to have anything in the top lane themselves.
Yeah, and one of the things I love about getting a Jax fed is he just completely changes the way your opponents have to play the game. The guy that's meant to be matching Demo right now is Barone. And if this Jax gets completely out of hand that the Zahen can't match him, who else on Gucci is going to be able to go to this Jax in side lane and not die if he tries to dive them, or even just clearing out a wave? We are seeing the second dragon of the game going over to Rise here, so if Raze isn't able to get something on the top side, then we could see the team on the red side developing a bit of a lead. Stun is going to come down, but they haven't really dealt too much damage to the Jax as of yet, and with that tower to retreat to, Demo is able to get out A-OK. Kurosh still in the area though, has that shockwave, they could look to dive. Raze walking up, Kurosh moving over the leap strike to get away. Shockwave pulled, grabs the Jax back, immunity to the auto attacks, but not to be pulled back, skewered by Barone, gets a little bit of retribution, but Kier is looking for something on the bot lane. Both of these junglers very interested in not interacting with each other, merely the opposite sides of the map.
No, they definitely, you know, that was Gucci's response to that one kill on top lane, was like, no, you're not getting ahead, please know your place. Instantly working as a team, getting the dive on. Great pull from Karush. It was, yeah, I think that was wonderful work as a team. Something that we seem to lack from Rise Gaming. It is like kind of stronger solo fronts, but the teamwork is kind of coming from Gucci here.
Yeah, but you say that Rise haven't got the solo lanes necessarily where they want them. Bot lane going phenomenally. DDD with that kill in his back pocket, a 25 CS lead and a load of damage being dealt to that tower. Kurosh here without the flash, but is just able to exit topside. So if I was a neutral looking at this game, I would say that, do you know what, Rise, they seem to be in a better position to do what they want to do than Gucci at the moment.
Yeah, no, most definitely. It's a little bit of a gold lead, still early game, but like the two Drakes do make quite the difference. Whether they are going to take that into account, and Gucci is now going to focus on that. They've been able to take the grubs. You know, Herald's up soon. I still think it could go either way. This is actually quite a good, interesting match. I like how it's even. There's no crazy CS lead other than maybe the jungle, but and actually, yeah. No, to be fair, looking at it now, Rise has been able to take that lead, like we kind of were talking about.
Yeah, but it very much feels like Phrase versus DDD at the moment in terms of the guys that have got the gold and the guys that should be expected to be doing the things. I think the thing about getting gold on a jungler is he can affect every single lane. Very nice cleanse there from Brain Dead to get on away from that Ashe arrow, but that's some of the danger that this composition from Rise has. The Ashe with a lead is just so great at making her own opportunities to get more kills and get more fed.
No, definitely. And I think when it comes to the late game, we are going to see those chains of CC make a real effect. Whether they'll have the damage to follow up is something I do worry about.
Okay.
They kind of seem a little more tanky, whereas on the other side, there's a lot more damage going on, especially when that Yunara ults. When we see the Zahen get right into the fight, I can see top lane again here.
Oh, I think this Jax is getting demolished. Flash under, pull back, another kill for Barone, and actually first tower going in favor of the blue side team. So despite Demo doing decently in the 1v1, the pressure from FaZe really coming to bear and putting that Jax in the dirt a little.
No, definitely is. As we were talking about, Udyr, Zahen top lane is going to be explosive. They are going to look to try and run over a little bit. Whether what Jax does to respond to that, it will be a different story. He can kind of sit back, maybe farm, just focus on becoming stronger in that late game because he is just kind of good in that late game specifically. But it depends how they play it.
Yeah, it's rough. It's a really good response, though, from Rise on the bottom lane, denying a little bit of CS under that tower and being able to take it away. So DDD really starting to become a point of power for the team. But I'm going to be honest with you, Toast. It's nearly 15 minutes, and we're yet to have a proper skirmish, let alone a team fight. We've got a dragon spawning in 1 minute's time. If Rise grab that, Soul Point is on the card. So I'm anticipating that Gucci are going to get a little bit more frisky in the river than they have been.
Yeah, I think we're up for a skirmish. I think there hasn't been much of one on purpose. Well, they are kind of like piling up now. We're seeing 4 towards the Herald at the moment. Make sure mid lane doesn't push up into them. They're noticing that the bot lane has swapped. But I think they're going to secure the Herald. Yeah, it's once again, they're taking the top side. They've been loud. Rise can't take the bot side, but I think they are going to focus. And I think the first skirmish is going to be that next Drake.
Yeah, because with that Herald as well, you see the play so many times. You chuck that in mid lane to get a little bit of priority, and then you could rotate over for the objective. Rise don't necessarily need to fight for this dragon if they feel that they are going to lose the fight, but obviously being able to stack up an Infernal Soul is a lovely win condition. Tempered Fate kind of neutralized there by the Encore. Both supports using their big teamfight CC ultimates and neither really getting anything with it.
Yeah, Syndra's starting to join. It's kind of falling into a skirmish. Drake is spawned. This is where we would like to see it happen. Rift Herald has been put down onto the ground and looking to create that pressure on the mid tower.
It does seem that Rise are just being forced away. Gucci, we've got a little bit more power with them at the moment, and that Jax is trying to defend up on the top side, but Barona's already taken a second tower up there, so now Rise are kind of being pulled in multiple directions. They're committing to the one on the top side, and we've got a lovely arrow hitting from the jungle there from DDD. Big shutdown, a load of gold going into the pocket of this Jax, but it means that the Drake stacking that was set up for Rise in the first 10 minutes is no more. They're going to be heavily delayed if they want to get an Infernal Soul.
Yeah, no, it was a good catch out. This, the Ashes are always going to be so important. I think that's the first sign of the early side of what we're going to see for the later game is just that heavy CC. It's going to, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the nice thing for DDD is, like, this is a team that you can kind of kite relatively reasonably. The Udyr notoriously doesn't have any dashes or surefire ways of getting on top of you unless you're going to flash bear slap or something ridiculous like that. And whilst the Zahen can dive in, I feel like he's a little bit squishier and a little bit less reliable than something like an Ambessa that can properly zero out a backliner for free.
Yeah, no. I think Zahen, the way he can be played, is really interesting and very strong. But I think with how the late game goes, it's very important that he is surrounded by people who can support him. We've all seen the clips of like 1v5 Zahen, 1080, all that.
Yeah.
But in this kind of play, he's important. If he doesn't have the team around him playing the way he needs it, he will just.
Oh, that's a big encore there from Jamsu. Couple more members of Gucci there to back him up. Ketsuo's going in, trying to drop the damage, but getting dropped himself as FaZe just wails on him a little bit. Cure popping the ultimate is able to stay alive. A little bit more damage being offered there by Korosh's. Ketsuo just dies on the side. And we were asking for a little bit of a skirmish. It goes in favor of Gucci, but all that time, we've got Demo in the top lane demolishing towers.
It kind of seemed like Ketsuo forgot he wasn't on Silas for a second there.
Toast, that would not surprise me. That is possibly the most true statement that has ever been made by anyone.
Yeah, he just kind of came up away from his team, kind of got zoned out, and I think, yeah, Karush just knew exactly what to do, pushed onto him, got the free kill.
Easy as you like. And whilst the game has remained pretty close in terms of the kill totals, the objective totals, we are just starting to see that gold lead creep up ever so slowly for Gucci. We're looking at Fraze, we're looking at Korosh as these big damage dealers, and still, it needs to be DDD for Rise. This guy who is very strong secondary carry, not playing a hyper carry on the Ashe that offers a little bit more utility, but you need to be able to provide that damage, otherwise your team isn't going to have enough to get through this game.
May see a possible... Oh, I don't know. He's backed out of it. I thought I would be a little bit dangerous if he went full through it, but he knows a bit better. Yeah, so we're seeing Jax in the bot lane. He's gonna, we're gonna see that split pushing coming from him. He's just gonna look to create the pressure into the base, whereas everyone else is kind of team skirmishing.
Oh, hello. We're getting a load of fighting in the mid side. Already a kill going down onto Jamsu, and with Ketsuo locked up in the Temp of Fate, he's not going to be alive for too much longer. A second kill that fight. That one for Brain Dead. Sorry, not Braintree. That's a wonderful town somewhere in England that has a football team that is a lot better than it should be. But Brain Dead starting to get involved a little bit now. We haven't been speaking about the Yunar rule that much because we haven't really had reason to, but 2 items, level 11, got that rank 2 ultimate. Now the champion is starting to get into that phase where she becomes very, very scary in the team fights.
Yeah, we also did see that Jax was very quick to join the fight. He had very good rotation there. 1 minute he was in the bot lane, very quickly saw the fight igniting. Fortunately, they weren't able to create anything out of it, but I think he did help peel off the team a little there by just the presence alone. Yeah, we're going to see, both top laners are going to be split pushing here. That's going to be something we're going to be seeing.
And you look at the little top left-hand corner of your screen, we have got another dragon approaching. Last time around, Gucci were able to take it away without too much contest, without too much pressure coming through from Rise, and now they're going to be looking at that dragon with an even more substantial gold lead in their pocket, and you got to think on Rise that might just start to feel this game slipping away a little bit. If they keep doing as much as they are, then Gucci are just going to scale up and take over this game even more so than they already have.
Now, when we look at these two teams, who do you think is going to be like the primal engage for both of them? Because I'm looking at both. I'm seeing Udyr probably on the side of Gucci will be the initial engage, but he can like get caught out quite easily. On the other side, Mundo is a frontline, but he's not. I see it hard to see him as an engage. Is it going to be Jax who's going to do that work? Is Syndra going to have to find that silence on the side?
Yeah, well, I think that for Rise, you are looking at the picks, right? You are still looking at the Seraphine, the Ashe, the Syndra to lock someone down, and then you've got these sort of melee champs that are just going to walk at you a little bit more, like they seem to be walking at this tier 2 tower, and Demo is actually taking a load of damage. In goes Barone, the Jax is very low. We could see a 1v2 kill here. Flash is traded, but the Zahen not able to claim a kill, so even in an outnumbered scenario, Gucci winning out on the top side. Oh, and by the way, they got that dragon as well. Things going from bad to worse for Rise as their attempted pick in the bot lane completely neutralized by the Bard. Everything going Gucci for Gucci.
Yeah, 2 Fertile Drakes. That's going to start stacking. That's going to start making an effect. This Bard has been all over the map as well. It's been great to see. We haven't spoke about it much, but he is just there in almost every scenario. Like even he was just at a team fight. He's here ready at mid in case something was to break out. Although he has just back, but he was there ready in case.
It's just you got to back at some point, you know. Yeah. Sometimes like you have a long day at work on Summoner's Rift, and you've got to go back to the shop. You got to go and pick up like your What's-Its and like a Cherry Dr Pepper or something. Get you back in the fight. Get you back ready. We are post 20 minutes, which means that we do have a Baron on the map. No spawning after 25 minutes nonsense in this patch. You can already see Gucci starting to take over Rise's topside jungle. Their intentions are clear. They want to slay the big purple worm, but they're not going to go for it without a proper vision setup and without forcing Rise to face check into a team that is significantly further ahead than they are.
Yeah, this is exactly what we thought we would see. Gucci has just got that kind of topside prior. Whether they can make it so they can control the whole map is going to be another question. The Ashe is still on the field. She is very strong. I think every fight becomes very different when that Ashe gets taken out, though.
Yeah, but you got to think, right? DDD has been 1-0-1 for a really long time. He hasn't had the opportunity to scale or increase the magnitude of his lead. And I'd actually say that Braindead is probably a little bit more useful in fights. We are seeing the Shockwave pulled, but not massively effective, as there goes the Zarhead triple stasis with the Bard ultimate, and Braindead could just absolutely open up in the blink of an eye. Gucci 4 health bars from Summoner's Rift. Looks like they're going to be going after number 5, not Ketsuo, it's the Baron.
And that's Baron. That is Baron. Simply said. Wow. Yeah, Bard making a difference. We would, I was worried we hadn't spoken much about him, and we weren't going to. He spoke for himself. Absolutely. That was wonderful. Holy.
Yeah, do you know what? Fastlane, actually quite a good player. Surprise, surprise. And it's nice to see Braindead being able to open up a little bit, because he has put on some strong performances, but it's sort of the curse of playing on a good team almost, when all of your lanes are doing half decent and everyone seems to be doing a really good job. It's quite hard to stand out, especially as a hyper carry player.
No, yeah. No, most definitely. I feel like it does seem everyone's just trying to play their part. Like, mid lane's done really well just to out CS. The jungle has been able to control and help where that tough fight for top lane has been. Even bot lane just hasn't died much. Like, they've done a pretty good job at just not dying. Now we're on the 204. I think 1 or 2 more kills at Yonara is going to be scarily online.
What? Ketsuo just dies, disrespecting the damage from Kurosh from over the wall, and when you've got a 14-stack Magi's, you do a hell of a lot of damage. Bot lane push coming through, level 16 for Barone, an attempt to engage in the mid lane here from Rise. They are going to be able to lock down fast. They can take him down almost immediately. Now they're moving on to Phrase. DDD could open up, but the damage from the Yonara is just a little bit better. Over the wall he goes with Reckless at Baden, and why not? Well, you can flash forward and take out someone like that. Gucci's AD carry is well and truly scaled into this game as the bot lane inhibitor drops down, and mid lane might be soon to follow.
Yeah, the Yonara was like, I don't need 2 more kills. I'm going to make 2 more kills with the resources I've got now. Yeah, it's worrying. They are 6 towers ahead. The pressure on the base is now really hard. We're going to be playing Bloons Tower DD right here. For Rise, it's hard.
Oh no, Kia gets the bone skewer, but I think he might just die, has to flash away, and that's how you know it's going really badly. Ketsuo kind of locked on this side of the wall, able to get the shutdown before he is taken out himself. In terms of a pure gold trade, that's worth it for Rise, but Fastlane always there to force those flashes to get a little bit more from the play.
Yeah, Yonara's kind of overrunning a little bit here. We are going to see Drake go up again. I don't think either team are too worried.
No.
I think this base is the biggest worry now. Again, those last few towers, creating the pressure they can. Do we see Rise coming back at all this game?
I think it's going to be difficult. We've only got this one more wave of Baron minions they're going to have to contend with as the fight is forced, and it's just that guy Braindead again. He wasn't on his PC for the first 20 minutes of this game, but he is well and truly logged on. And as the Baron buff will fade away the final few seconds, the towers surrounding that Nexus will fade for Rise as well. It's a nice little stun coming out from Jansu, but there just isn't the damage there. Nexus is open, and Braindead opens up onto Rise. Disgusting amounts of damage from the Yonara. Rise, though, they been able to mount this base defense, and I think Gucci have got a little bit arrogant, a little bit cavalier. The game is not over yet, but basically, Rise are dead and buried.
Oh, that I was almost at the end of the game, and I think what is important to speak about on the Yonara is not dying is important in this early game. Like, as much as they weren't on the computer for the first 20 minutes, I think not dying in the first place has been such a great detriment to the game itself. Like, we see the Ashes fully, fully CS'd up, should have more gold, but Yonara's been able to completely overrun her now.
And it's another game that it feels like for Rise so close, but so far the deficit is pretty dreary right now. 10,000 gold down, but you've got to remember for the first 15 minutes this was a close game, but then Gucci just able to accelerate away a little bit. Rise's minds are going to be on game 2. I imagine that Gucci's minds are on game 2 at the moment, given how they were trying to finish off that Nexus. What needs to change, Toast? How does this game become a little bit closer and potentially even Rise favoured when we go into the second outing on Summoner's Rift this evening?
I see. The problem is, when we look at these lanes, like, we've got Barone working towards his first fight.
Hold on. We've got the Udyr running in. No time for that. And Rise are going to have to work out what they're doing in game 2 a little bit later. They have been able to shut down the Udyr, though, so numbers advantage. But here comes that Zahen, causing problems. Jack's going onto the backline, but not quite able to get the stun onto anyone. Oh, my word. Barone is just causing a nuisance. And DDD is able to pepper him with the arrows, but only pop him into the revive. It is still a 3v3, but I trust the health bars. I trust the damage of Gucci a little bit more. Second time of asking, but the Nexus goes down. Gucci 1-0 up on the day.
God. Ooh. God, hit the tower. Hit the tower. Get it done.
Yeah, just do it. Just do it. Come on, we're not messing around. We've won the game, but wow, Toast. What a game we saw. Close until it wasn't. It felt like we just got to a certain point in the mid-game where Gucci decided that they were just going to win every single fight from that point. And I'd like to say that there was a spirited defense from Rise, but it really felt like they were outclassed as the game went on. And we're going to be asking some big questions of them going into game 2.
No, definitely, absolutely. I think while I was trying to finish off there, the little end there was like, Jax was on his only just about his second item, whilst we saw Zahen on that fourth. I think there was so much support coming from the jungle. I think what is happening with Rise's jungle is that he needs to focus on where the actual hyper carry is, because Ashe is great early, but it kind of stales and like is good late, but isn't great late like the Yunara is. So it's difficult because like you can win so much early game up to a point, but when the whole team joins together, is that Zahen raid boss gonna do the job or not? That's the main point.
I mean, he was doing a job. He was doing several jobs right there. And yeah, Rise just not able to get off the line. But I tell you what, Toast, I'm a little bit tired. That was a very interesting, very exciting game, and I think I needed a little bit of a rest for my voice. So we've got 3 relatively knowledgeable individuals that are going to be taking you through what happened that game and setting us up for game 2. Desk, take it away.
Thank you very much, Middlecart. I'll take a little bit knowledgeable. I'll have that. I'll take that one to the bank. Would you say you're
it's good Rob isn't on here. I think if he was described as relatively knowledgeable, the world would start to fold in on itself, which is it's pretty reasonable, to be honest.
So I think, just thoughts on that game. It was such a quick one, and it was kind of just a snowball effect. So I want to ask you, Bandit, what do you think was kind of the defining factor for that game?
I think when you look at the start of that game, and especially how relatively well the early game went for Rise, it was FaZe who took charge of the situation, not even playing Renata, but still bailing out his top laner, making sure he got right back on the rails, making sure he got himself into the game. And when he got that lead, he is showing what he can get done.
Yeah, it was like a butter tier list at the start of the split. You get a big glob of this stuff, you spread it all over. The jungler advantage, the bot lane survives a losing matchup. They survive getting their tower exploded and having no plates in reply for a very long time. Mid lane, no issues at any point. You flip the matchup in top lane where Zahen gets a little bit stronger post 6, particularly around the level 9 mark, where the Jax wants to sort of start having that greater scaling, that greater advantage, can be shut down in small unit fights. It was a beautiful display. And I think FaZe's Udyr, once again, probably not getting through Champion Select in the near future.
And to build on top of that, I think it really highlights the contrast between these two junglers as well, right? Where FaZe had the options to help his teammates, there was a certain amount of inactivity on the other side of the aisle. That meant that Rise were not always in position to really be putting up a fight, to be reacting to the situation developing right in front of them. And I think that is really where the differences have been made in this game.
Okay, speaking of fight, we can have a look at kind of one of the key defining moments that basically set Gucci up for that win. It was brilliant. Well, you wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, this is how Jax versus Zahin is meant to go if left in isolation. We had a little bit of a flash advantage here. Zahin had to blow his just before. Despite having the ult, Jax with an ignite can make the difference, can operate in those short bursts that prevent the revive passive that otherwise is your overwhelming 1v1.
I think it really kind of sets up the stage for Ryze's later game plan as well, where it seemed like he was so focused, so hell-bent on proving himself he can be that carry person, that he can get those leads for himself, that you kind of enter your mid-game with like these blinders on for yourself. And we saw it later on in the mid lane as well, where Seraphine is roaming and not keeping track of, all right, I am roaming, but where is that bar turning the tables on them? So even though there is promise on the side of Ryze, it lacks the finesse to really drive it home.
Okay, we can have a look at one. You were mentioning that bard. That bard you were mentioning needs to be brought up because there was one fight and it's right here and it just changed the kind of whole momentum of this game.
Yeah, right. If you said fast like bard, I'd be back in 2020, but here we are. A cheeky corral up this ramp and Bandit, like with the shockwave to force him back. What a share.
And it really highlights how decisive Gucci are when it comes to these big team fights. They really are aware of the opening shown towards them, and they pounce on it like no other. Blink with your eyes twice, 3 times, and suddenly you're surrounded by Gucci health bars, making your life miserable.
It was just a complete snowball of a game. It happens, and I couldn't really see Ryze recover at all, and it's unfortunate. But hey, we do have another game coming up. We're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be straight back into the action.
Oh, Malphite. All right, here we go. Just
Still going for this way. She would have. Chimera super
They're in
low.
trouble, but there's the Rakan coming in for the shooting. The shooting again.
Oh my God!
They lose.
And everyone bow down to Venom Crest. Two-time champions. Bow down to James.
Welcome back, everyone. You know, we saw that game. It was quick, it was speedy. So, you know, we wanted to get right into the next one. So, LSU Bandit first. Just general thoughts. What needs to change here?
I think as Rise, you really have to look at, all right, we had some promising leads in that early game, in top lane, but also bot lane, giving the map trade pretty well. But what were we lacking? And I was lacking agency on Kiur. So we have to get something in his hands that he feels comfortable with, but also can take charge with and really answer the pressure that he's receiving from Phrase.
What about you, Temporal? What differences are going to be?
It's super valid. I think Mundo sort of sits in that weird space of junglers where you clear real fast, and sometimes you're an unstoppable mountain, and sometimes you are not present in any way, shape, or form, not useful, not aggressive, and not defensive. So a nice movement there too. Something like a Sejuani would maybe facilitate that ability to be present a little bit more. I would love to see Kurosh's Orianna addressed as we are morphing through the different things we have on our screen right now. Please bear with. Caitlyn,
we have exited the pick and ban Chrysalis, and now the beautiful butterfly that it can be has shown itself to us.
I love the Caitlyn takeaway. We are setting up for a stronger 1 and 2. I expect to see bot nice and early once again.
Yeah, and you can see the adaptation already. Phrase is not getting that Udyr a second time around. Fiora still taken off the board. And what it is answered with just screams confidence from Gucci.
Yeah, it's completely brutal. Right. Twitch, pretty decent into the Inara. Is also one of Braindead's one and dones. Loves the champion, the Orianna to boot as well. You can play it defensively with Twitch. You can throw it on your tank and give the Twitch a firing range. Really like the duality once again of the good Chi composition.
Yeah, and I mean, it is such a nasty little partnership that you can set up with both Twitch and Orianna. The invisible ball can bring definitely spelling out doom for anyone in their way, but it is a high-risk play. But as we saw before, Gucci is not afraid to take on the high-risk plays.
I think it is quite likely that it comes with one of Fastleg's Enchanter specials. We saw the Bard last game, similar sort of setup. With that, I don't mind the Akali Jarvan so much. Even if you're not taking down a prize target, there will be vulnerable targets on the map. Last game, it was Jamsi on Seraphine who caught the short end of these extended sort of dances forwards and backwards, and it's likely that Rise want to capitalize on that with these two.
Yeah, and this is the Jarvan that was denied to them in the previous game, taken off the board by Gucci themselves. So getting it in a little earlier for themselves right now might just be the difference maker that they're looking for, and it is something with agency. So I do like to see that.
Yeah, the Wukong similarly banned away last game, so the team sort of reclaiming in draft with the champions banned away due to performance. So good to see that everyone had done their prep for game 1. Everyone was finger on the pulse. Second phase of bans, I think Fastleg is going to eat some of his enchanters here. Now, whether we see Jamsu's Nautilus, Jamsu's Thresh taken away here will be the question.
And when you're talking on the subject of getting that Wukong in, it's another puzzle piece for the Orianna that fits in so smoothly. And we saw what a nightmare Kurosh already could be. And that was despite all of the attention that Rise Gaming was giving the mid lane, trying to shut it down. He was absorbing, and not only absorbing, but then returning it threefold, fourfold, carrying the game. I mean, not by himself, but he definitely was a key component in it. And he is set up to do it once again.
Okay, Karma God as well. A soft counter to the Twitch by keeping him under his tower and making sure he never gets any help into an eventual dive. If I were Rise Gaming here, I think the Bard would also have to go. I think that level of setup into Wukong Orianna is absolutely devastating, but the more traditional Enchanter's still on the table.
I hope we see that Bard. We saw how dominant it was. It has to.
I mean, even to add on to it, even to take it away from Rise here, right? The bar is also good at kind of like stifling that engage just a little bit. It is the exact type of thing you do not want to be playing against. And I feel like Rise Gaming are, well, they're kind of indicating that they're not playing it themselves, but taking the Nami off the board, it kind of limits your anti-engage options.
You know what happens when there's no more enchanters left? I think you can safely pick Braum and just take the melee matchup. The Bard hover here, Jamsu's pretty decent at it. Is one way to get around what Braum brings to the table. Nico as well, not a champion I've thought a lot about this season, mostly because he doesn't appear so much here compared to Tier 1. Still the strongest 2v2 support and still that late game powerhouse of a threat. I'm not sure Jamsu will go to it though. They are light on engage for Rise.
Now, all it tells me is that this top lane will be getting some love once more. And we saw what Barone could do if he was put up to the task. And he has some shoes to fill from game 1.
Alright, the Cassante is technically that front line, technically that engage. Into R5 is pretty brave. Oh no.
Do it to
that
them.
Would be devastating, and I'd love to see it.
Do it to them. Come on. If we
Bro.
are brave
Put it
enough to
in.
pick Twitch, we are brave enough to get Tryndamere in there.
Alright, that is fantastic. This is the sort of Gucci draft I come to expect. It's dead exciting, and suddenly I'm not so sure about the score anymore.
But I mean, you just have to love this, right? You have to love
yeah.
a team that is confident, that has a clear identity, and is not just here for the most meta picks. They are here to win their way, and I respect that.
Oh, I agree with that 1,000,000%. You can tell they've got the Wukong, the Orianna, the comfortable picks they like, and then they've kind of just built around that and be like, you know what? It does seem like a case of, we like these champs. Let's just do it. It works quite well. It goes against what they want. I think it's pretty seamless, if you ask me.
Alright, story of the game for me. I think is going to be Nico trying to find these engages while Tryndamere tries to find an inhibitor tower. I don't think it needs to be much more advanced than that. And then as soon as Gucci sees numbers, they can just run it forwards.
Yeah, they definitely got themselves a little bit of a more volatile draft here for themselves. And I think when you look at their previous drafts as well, initially it looks like a team composition more geared towards personal comfort and personal game plans rather than an overarching synergistic whole. However, they have proven before that they are good enough to get the job done that way.
What do you think Rise have to do here to go against this comp?
I think you really have to be calculated in your early game, because that is where we kind of saw things look promising and then immediately fall apart for them. So if you are Kiur right now, you really have to be mindful, all right, who needs my attention? And I think you will have to be looking into your mid lane to address Kurosh. However, he's shown himself to be very adept at handling that pressure. So only on a sure thing where an Orianna doesn't have a flash, or you're just threatening to get the flash, you have to pull the trigger. And otherwise you have to get this Yunara ahead, because she is your saving grace in these team fights.
Yeah, that's going to be the flip side of last game. Like, the Udar has to be such a weapon to get Rise through this. If I do expect anyone to understand the Orianna side of Orianna or Akali, where you have to be dead careful on sides, time that beautifully, but otherwise, pre-6, you're pretty comfy in lane. You have to use that advantage. You can't really sit on it. I expect Kurosh to be able to do it. No pressure, Gucci. Every time I say I expect good things, my predictions of these one-on-ones and difficult matchups comes through. So I'm fingers crossed here. This is a bit of a powder keg, fellas.
I think the mid lane matchup is definitely the one to keep in mind, just in a vacuum, right? Because so many times the Akali takes it up against the Orianna and actually runs away with it, gets way larger advantages than you feel like should be possible. But Kurosh might just be that person to put a stop to that.
I'm excited to see this volatile draft, and I will say I'm leaning more towards Gucci, but hey, Rise also have something quite unseen, something I would not be expecting. So, casters, Middle Cotton Toast, I want to know your thoughts on it, and we'll let them take it away.
Thank you very much. I'm contractually obligated to not have thoughts. I don't know about Toast, but what I do know is that I've been told I'm very excited for the second game that we've got going on this evening. Rise need some improvements, Toast, going into this game too if they want to even up the series. Do you think they can do it? Do you think that we could be seeing a correct prediction from yourself, or do you reckon that I'm gonna take it with my 2-0 Gucci?
I think we talked about it slightly. I think if they allow Ketsuo, and if Ketsuo does the 50-50 coin flip as we talked about in the past,
Yeah.
and they enable the Ketsuo, it could be good. I am really worried from honestly both sides. Gucci having a bit of a more stable comp. Rise have a very volatile, I think that was the word they used as well. Very volatile, just could go either way, honestly. Like there's a lot of dependent on individual performances here in the early game. Jarvan can only, be so many places at once. I think top lane is going to be very slow, very boring, unless this Tryndamere really wants to risk it.
Hey, you're talking about top lane being slow, but we've got Tryndamere, man. Okay, what's going to happen is Baron is going to walk up to Demo at level 1. He's going to auto the minions a load. He's going to hit Demo once. If it's a crit, he's won the entire lane, won the entire game. And I love that we could talk about like this Gucci composition as potentially more stable when we've got the Tryndamere and the Twitch going on. But I think you really have to focus on the 3 champion core that they've got. Orianna, Wukong, Braum. It's a super duper safe core, very difficult to jump on top of, able to clear waves quite easily, and in a pinch, the Wukong can dive in, knock everybody up, and get on out of there to buy some time. But we are not going to have to buy any more time, because we are going straight on to Summoner's Rift. Rise versus Gucci. The team on the red side, Gucci, already claiming a 1-0 this evening. Can they make it a clean sweep, or can Rise secure their first earned gamed victory of the split?
I think it's going to be a lot. I'd like to see it go in the way of Rise. I'm much preferring like a 1-1 over any kind of 2-0.
Oh, you're biased now, Toast, after claiming impartiality last game.
Well, no, that's the part of the impartiality. I want both teams to do well. I want to see performances from everyone. I don't want to see any team do really bad and never get any kind of spotlight. I want to see individual performances. I want to see good teamwork. This card is getting shut out. Oh my.
This is not fun. This is why you've got to go the Doran Shield early on, because the Akali really doesn't have much of a level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But once she hits level 6, that kill potential can absolutely skyrocket. But as the desk was saying, Kilrosh probably knows what an Akali can do to an Orianna, and so is going to be playing the lane as accordingly. Very interesting bot lane matchup. I can't remember the last time that I saw a Twitch Braum, but I am sensing a little bit of all-in potential there if you can get those concussive blows stacked up.
No, yeah, Braum great with any kind of character who can kind of attack fast, get the concussive blow. I think more on the side of like, I'm interested to see how this Nico plays out, because Nico is kind of should just be all over the map. In that once it hits that 10 minutes, I would like to see them go into different places. But Rise kind of needs that security in bot lane. Otherwise, I think Twitch Braum can run over the Yanara early game. Whether they can, whether Rise can replicate what Gucci did with the Yanara, that's another question. We'll have to kind of see how that goes.
It's going to be difficult, though, with DDD already having to burn his flash at the level 2. And Fraze hasn't gone anywhere. He has just been sticking around this whole damn time. That ward in the river is going to spot him out. I like this from Rise, though. We said that they needed to change things going into Game 2. And with the strong performances that DDD has been putting out, I think it makes sense to give him an opportunity on a hyper carry. Let's see what this guy can do when he has got all of the tools available for a bot lane player to get that carry, to get that damage down.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think oh, here we go. This is what you were talking about. I think he got the crit, he got a little bit
He got the crit, he got excited, and now he's fighting. Barone is just going to have to accept that that wave is pushing into him. And despite that slightly poor trade, he has been doing very well in this lane. He was able to generate a reasonable lead as Fraze is able to smite away that Rift Scuttler, but now he's got into a fight with the Jarvan who's a level above him. Concussive blows dodge away from him, but still going to come through, and it's a relatively easy pickup coming out from Gucci. DDD now playing onto that Twitch as Fraze is looking for Jamsu on the other side. with the dashes, the bonus autos, the extra range. FaZe is able to pick it up. So Rise, the team that needed to sort out their early game and ensure that the stability could get them all the way to the later stages, are down 0-2. And if Ketsuo's not careful, it could be even worse here. Not tagged by the concussive blow, so we'll be able to return to mid lane unscathed. But if you are a Rise Gaming fan, being 1k gold down at 4 minutes is not how you wanted this game to go.
That you got your early skirmishes. You know, that's something you felt you were lacking last game, and that happened so quick. What were they fighting over at that point? Was it
very
the
little?
crab?
I think.
Just like, hey, let's all hang out on the river. Oh, you guys want to hang out on the river too? I don't want any of that.
Yeah, dude, you're in my space, man. You can't sit there. I'm in the river.
You're in my space. You're in my area.
You're in my area, dude. What are you doing? We were saying that Kurosh probably knows this Orianna versus Akali matchup better than anybody, and I like the adaptation that he's thrown in here. Hold on, Jamsu's going to need to be careful. The poison ticking down, not quite going to finish him off, but look at these 2 ruby crystals in the inventory of the Orianna, recognizing the threats that can go onto him from the Akali and saying, well, I've got a little bit more HP for you to cut through.
Something there was Barone once again just being really hyperactive, something that is probably not optimal, but he seems to be good at peeling himself off. He knows when to leave. He must have played this matchup a couple of times. He knows his HP limits. He knows where he's going to lose, and he knows when to back up. He's crashed the wave. He's better in state of him. So he's doing the right thing. He's got the right job. He's match CS. Once again, we are seeing. Actually, no, not once again. Other way around, jungle-wise, Jarvan has got up on the CS for Rise itself. A little bit different from the story we saw last time.
Yeah, FaZe does have a couple of camps that he's going to be able to clear up, so the deficit not too substantial. Ketsuo there, level 5, crucially, without that perfect execution. Not going to be able to go for a kill onto Kurosh. The Orianna is going to be able to return to lane with a full HP and mana bar.
But Ketsuo's got the level 6 now, so maybe there'll be some interesting things to happen. Yeah, it seems things have just kind of flipped. So we're seeing a stronger bot lane from Gucci. We're seeing a stronger jungle from Rise. Whether that will dictate how the game actually goes, whether Gucci are just going to do well no matter what, they are once again 1k gold above with those 2 kills. It's looking interesting. It's looking worrying still though for Rise.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we saw what Braindead could do when he was just left alone for a little bit that previous game, but with the early advantage on the Twitch already in bag, then that may set him up to do even more. And that strong core from Gucci, I think, is really going to serve them well. The CC and the damage, the sheer utility that can come out from the Wukong, the Orianna, and that Braum will be so great for enabling this Tryndamere and the Twitch should they need to in fights a little bit later.
Now, we're starting to see everyone kind of reach that level 6 mark, especially in the top half of the map.
Cure could go straight into Kurosh, forcing the flash away. FaZe is in the area, but only level 5 on the Wukong. The Shockwave going to come out, and the Shuriken flip from Ketsuo coming through, able to execute that Orianna. And it wasn't a solo kill, but Ketsuo does get himself on the board.
1-0 to Ketsuo as we start off. Is that going to be what we're going to see for the rest of the game? This is what we wanted to see. We want to see Ketsuo be on that stronger champ, that hyper mobility carry. It could be fun to watch. I like this. I like this.
Yeah, okay. A Fed Akali is very much the bane of people playing against it, but it's quite entertaining to watch. Not too much more drama going on down there, aside from the skirmish that we had earlier in the river and that pick up around the mid lane. No interest in this dragon just yet. We are going to be having Void Grub spawning soon as well. Barone, though, on the wrong side of things and is being put in alcove prison a little bit. Fraser's going to be able to move over, does have access to that ultimate now, but the same is true of Demo. Gets it down with forcing the Undying range out from the Tryndamere, and the damage that Fraser's got just seems to be a little bit too much for this Cassante. Able to go all out, trying to get that healing, gets the shield off as well. One more bonk from the Wukong to finish it off.
No, that was great. That was wonderful. Yeah, it was really good. I think that was something that was important for the Tryndamere that we were worried about. Getting that early kill, getting that early lead. This is going to be big for their top lane. Worrying once again for Rise. Wondering where Jarvan was for the fight. We're not able to successfully get this straight. So, in the case of trades, it's definitely going in the way of Gucci, especially with these Void Grubs as well now.
Yeah, well, there are no trades really occurring for Rise. Whilst last game they were able to keep pace a bit more in the early stages. Pressure top lane will go translate into a kill for them or a dragon for them as well. Not really able to pick anything up, and we said that we needed Rise to level up coming into this game too, but honestly, Gucci just feels like they're even more composed than they were in the first game.
Yeah, wonderfully so. Yeah, I'm a little confused here. Why have we left one grub?
Why have we left what? Ooh, so, right. So, XP and junglers, all very important. That you don't spend your time doing too much stuff that isn't earning XP. So the first kill on the Void Grubs, I believe, gives you a little bit of bonus XP. But then with the amount of damage they actually add, sometimes it's just not worth to stick around to get that extra one. We are seeing Barone going aggressive here onto Demo, but you can see what the Cassante does. He's got that Bramble Vest, he's got the Warden's Mail, and the Trendo Moon fundamentally doesn't do very much to the Cassante unless he's got a little bit of help at the moment.
Yeah, especially with the Oni now just being up, that could have been a dangerous fight if he overstayed. But we talked about this, Trendebeer, he seems to know his health states, he knows his limits, so hopefully he can stay within those limits. It's kind of middling now again. There's nothing too... No one's got any crazy oven in this Twitch in the bot lane, kind of being able to see us out.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Here we go. Here we go. Jamsu being opened up onto, but I think DDD is going to be the target. Multiple summoners blown. There. Actually, just that flash coming off of DDD, but once again, the AD carry for Rise losing that crucial summoner, which makes it a lot harder to stand up in the lane against that Twitch.
No, yeah, definitely. So, just to finish the part I was on, the Twitch may be out CSing a bit, but we've seen what happens when Yunara does get out CS'd. It doesn't really matter. They just need that one or two kills in a later game, and then they just become kind of a demon. Whether Rise will have the capabilities of playing the team around that is a different question. I think the Cassante is good front line, allowing the Yunara to build up in those late games, and it could go either way.
Yeah, well, I suppose the only real magic damage threat on Gucci is this Orianna, and with the Catalyst in inventory, it's going to take a little bit longer for that damage to scale all the way up. Ketsuo looking for a little bit of action in the mid lane. He's been hit with the concussive blows, and there's just too many members of Gucci for the Akali to find anything. Ends up going down, and Fraze with his 4th kill participation of the game will head over to the Dragon Rise, potentially looking to contest.
Apparently, I'm starting to notice over these games with Rise is that mid lane is kind of left to their own. Ketsuo is kind of just left to it. Where jungle either is only reacting to engages on the mid lane, only up until that late team fight. It's kind of like no help at all. So Ketsuo is kind of left out in the cold. It feels a lot of these early games, a lot of these early skirmishes, and isn't able to win out that mid lane as much as they can. Especially when he's shown strength early in the game with the Akali. He can get the kill.
Oh no, Jamsu tries to flash back in. Braindead able to flash away. I think that Fastleg will trade his life for that, but we've got a dragon and we've got a second kill on this Twitch. Ketsuo able to pick up one, though, so the Akali's still able to get some gold, but definitely not where he'd want to be at this point in the game.
Yeah, no. But a little bit better. Get an extra kill, helping kind of outranged with the CS that's going on in the mid lane. But yeah, unfortunately, I do feel like Ketsuo is not enabled as much as he could be, and that is hurting Rise in these games.
Especially when you look over at the other side and you appreciate just how squishy a lot of the members of Gucci are. This Trendemir, this Orianna, this Switch, not going to be building a lot of HP, so should really be fodder for the Akali, but certainly not at this point. We do have that Profane Hydra picked up for Barone, and we saw a little bit of proxy farming coming out from the Trendemir. He's not going to want to join team fights. The longer this guy can spend on the side lane, the more likely he is to destroy everything in his path.
Yeah, it's kind of middling out again. It's like we've seen these early skirmishes. Chi has come out on top of it. I don't want to say too much until the first proper, when we're starting to fight over the Drake, when we fight over the Herald. I want to see the result of that, but we are seeing Gucci possibly getting the kill here in the top lane again.
Yeah, we're fighting over the health bar of the Cassante. Flash away from Fraze, maintaining his participation across the map as an all-in in the bottom lane, and Braindead is really starting to roll now. The proactivity that Twitch offers when you get a lead is pretty insane, and a bot lane that was stable and winning for Rise last game, emphatically not this time out. Scarcely 14 minutes in, 4,000 gold advantage for Gucci.
Yeah, it's seemingly getting more and more difficult to prompt Rise in a way where they can win. This is getting harsher and harsher. What do you think can happen? Do you think Ketsuo can get the right fight? Do you think he can get the right couple kills to get that kind of hyper carry going?
I think he can. I think he can. The thing about Ketsuo is he's got the capacity to surprise you and the capacity to do something absolutely ridiculous when you least expect it. The issue is the Akali's really good at killing one person, but there's 5 guys on the enemy team. Nice dodge away there from potential fight, and Jamso actually finding some lockdown here onto the Twitch. Opening up, here goes DDD, able to trade 1 kill back, but the numbers advantage favoring Rise means that Ketsuo could go forward. The shield comes out, barely surviving is Ketsuo. Phrase may not be so lucky. Stands still trying to play the mind games with the Wukong, but surrounded by enemies on all sides. I'm not sure he's able to get out of this one. Shut down, so much gold going over to DDD, and that is exactly what Rise Gaming needed to happen. It might not be done though, as Fast-Legged finds himself on the wrong side of the wall, flashes back over the Dragon Pit, and is just about able to escape.
Yeah, that's the type of fight that Rise definitely needed, you know. Unfortunately, Kali wasn't able to get the kill on Braindead earlier on. It's unfortunate. That would have been a great kill for Akali, being able to get the gold lead that they need. But that Yunara shutdown is something not to glance over. That is something that could be very, very worrying. We've not seen the Yunara from Rise, I believe, yet. I think we saw it in one game.
Oh, hello. We are seeing something in the mid lane, and it's a dead Twitch. That's a kill going on to Ketsuo. Will end up paying for it with his life, but still, you took down the Twitch, you get the gold on the Akali. Rise in the last minute or so have started to feel a little bit more free.
A little bit. It's difficult. We're starting to see some larger deficits in CS. Everyone's just taking fights now. It's an all-out war.
Yeah, flash roll from Kia, really intent on getting this lockdown onto the Orianna. Jarvan able to pick up the kill. Last tower shot not going to come through, and Rise really starting to find their tempo in this game. But Gucci always with a response. That push down in the mid lane from Phrase to secure a bit of gold, and Braindead is hunting for enemies. Jamsu going to be able to lock him up, and I think the Twitch has got too excited. 3rd death in 2 minutes here for Braindead, and Gucci's AD carry, he's gone for a little bit of an ego pick, and I think he's showing a bit too much ego.
Is there a reason the Twitch is actively engaging these solo fights? Do we think is some master plan to distract them from somewhere else in the map? I don't think so.
I don't think that's the case, as I'm not sure if we're going to see a kill here for Gucci. Fraser's been rather fruitful in his expeditions to the north side of Summoner's Rift, but that Cassante has got a fair bit of armor, a fair bit of mobility, and he can shut the trend a bit under the tower. Ultimate going to be popped there, trying to buy some time, goes unstoppable, gets the regen. Not able to claim a kill from it, but stays alive. Rise going to be able to trade this for a dragon on the bot side as the tower destroyed up top.
Cassante not being handed any kills isn't doing any favors. It's a great job from Gucci, you know, not giving out gold where they can, but we're starting to see this pressure. You know, they've got 2 towers now. It's whenever Rise seems to have a good play or a good advantage, Gucci just replies every time. It's not been a time where they haven't been able to have an advantage on top of them.
Yeah, I will say though, someone that we should highlight, I think, is Kiora. He has had a much better showing this time out on the Jarvan. High impact, high CS, doing what he needs to do for his team, as they need to help them escape from this situation as Gucci are moving over. Just going to be the Nico clone taken down as Ketsuo, how on earth have you ended up over there?
Yeah, he was just in there.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a classic Ketsuo death there, but you take the good with the bad with this guy. He's not going to make the massive pop-up plays, but he's not going to do something silly every so often.
He's just suddenly hoping everyone's colorblind and not seeing the big blue bar in the middle of the red bars.
It's not real. It doesn't exist. decent health advantage coming out there from Demo in the top side as it's another tower falling in favor of Gucci. This Tryndamere is incredibly low and should get taken down. Shutdown secured for the Jarvan. A lot of gold going on this, guys. Rise continued to make plays, but I think the key thing here is, Toast, those structures. Rise haven't been able to knock down a single one, but Gucci have taken out all of those outer towers.
Yeah, all tier 1 down. These like big fights that are happening in each lane, but it's not. None of these fights seem to be like team versus team. It's like team versus one player. It seems to be a lot of those kind of big trades, trying to make sure that no singular player is getting too much of a lead. This Jarvan is starting to become a little bit scary. It is sort of matched between the Wukong. Like, we are seeing, like, whereas he's got 5 assists, the Wukong's got 5 kills. It is kind of flipped around that way. So it's not too displaced. It still feels a little even. Even with the, like, 3 lesser kills, it still feels even. The gold isn't too deficit between the two. Especially with 3 towers being down, with 3 kills above, it's not too indifferent.
Yeah, and I mean, if Rise are able to close that kill gap and able to pick up a couple of these towers, then gold might even swing back in their favor. And it's been a strong recovery from them. This game was very much slipping away, but in a sequence of plays that lasted around about 90 seconds, they've been able to keep themselves in this game, keep themselves in touching distance of Gucci. And the thing is, for Gucci, they've got a pretty esoteric composition here that has to operate in a few weird ways, but quite a normal thing to do is gank onto the enemy top laner when they don't have a tower to protect them. Flash out coming through from Demo. Does feel like he's just buying time before he ends up inevitably going down, though, because the chase potential from the Wukong, from the Orianna, is pretty damn significant. Dodging away from the Pot Blossom there in the mid side, and Braindead drops so much damage onto the Jarvan. Lucky that he's so fed, otherwise Kerr would have been going down.
It's an all-out deathmatch at the moment. One thing I do want to point out on is when we looked at the gold there, Yunara having the most gold in the game does seem good for Rise. This is the thing we've talked about in the past. The gold going to Yunara is massive. Like, that free iron spike is intense.
Yeah, they've got to be careful, though, because Gucci are not slowing down. They get a kill in top lane on a person, and I think they're going to get a kill on a structure, too. Even more gold going into their back pockets. And escape here from FaZe, no real pickup available for Rise. They have been able to take down one of those towers, but still, with the map advantage that Gucci have got, they should be able to assert themselves much more readily onto Rise, who are going to be looking for pickup plays and scraps where they can get them.
Going to be looking for a split push on this one. Cassante trying to match it. He does not want to let him escape. The main power of Tryndamere is just knocking these towers down. In these big team fights, it's going to be a little harder for him to make any kind of... Yeah. He's going to more clean up the kills. That's where his play is. He's going to be the last one in. Have that ultimate, make the fight last a little bit longer. Now, we are going to see set up for the Drake on the side of Gucci here with 30 seconds in.
Yeah, not massively impactful as both teams have already claimed one of those dragons for themselves, so Soul win conditions are quite far away. Ketsuo moving down to try and re-establish some control for Rise in the mid lane and give them a free rotation over to the Dragon. But you've got that ticking timer of Barone up on the top side. This Tryndamere is going to keep on pushing. And remember, new season, he's got that TP as well as that Ignite, so he can join this fight should his team need him to.
No, and this Tryndamere definitely seems to know his limits. Like, that's the main thing I've been pointing out a lot this game. He knows when he's too far in. He knows when to leave the lane. He's playing it right.
Don't do this! What? Oh my god, that's why you got to put some respect on FaZe's name. Rise say, we don't care about the split push, we're going to get the Dragon, and they get neither. Might be able to find a fight in the mid lane, but Kjær has to flag and drag on out of there. We are seeing Ketsuo going forward, but not able to find a target, and already blowing the perfect execution that early without getting a kill means that Rise are in a much weaker position. This Cassante still pretty strong, though. Going to be difficult to take down despite the slight deficit, but the rest of his team just can't walk up to provide the damage. Now, starting to move forward, but look at what Kurosh is doing, just chunking the health bar of Kjær. Jamsu looking for a bit of a re-engage, but offers nothing at all. DDD trying to open up, but it is a double kill going over to Kjær. Kurosh. This Cassante has been alive the whole damn time, trying to get some kills, but not quite able. Ketsuo burning the flash aggressively, but is now going to get hit by the Twitch. Cassante still alive until he is brain dead. Messy fight coming through from both of these teams, but it is Gucci who come out just about on top.
One thing I want to point out there, I find the positioning of the Tryndamere here was wonderful. He really just confused the team fight there, just making them split their resources, so then the rest of Gucci could kind of just fall in on them. We didn't see any action coming from Tryndamere. He's choosing his deaths wisely, but you know, he just created such like confusion, made the team fight so much more difficult for the side of Rise Gaming. I want to point out Cassante was alive for the rest of the time, but I think Tryndamere had the better, honestly, way more influence on that fight than the Cassante himself.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you're in a car park and there's some guy just doing ninja moves in front of you but not actually hitting you, that guy's not having an impact, you know? If I'm being repeatedly hit in the head with the guy with the sword, even if that guy leaves the scenario relatively quickly, that's going to leave some lasting damage. And Gucci have started to get a bit more of that damage going and get back into this game. The gold lead starts to matter less and less as the game goes longer. The relative magnitude is not as substantial, but even still, I don't want to be fighting against a 3-item Twitch, a 3-item Orianna, or this Tryndamere who is getting to the point where if your name isn't Cassante, he is just going to be 3-tapping you.
We're going to see another team fight here. Braum being very aggressive, kind of making that space for the team, make sure they can put pressure on this tower. Yeah, we're seeing the towers get taken again. Once again, like, all tier 2s are up for the other team. They still have a tier 1 up. I spoke a little bit soon there, but but it's the pressure into base from Gucci that kind of makes these games so quickly on the side of them.
Yeah, and I think we do need to give shout out to Fraze and Kurosh. They haven't necessarily needed to be very flashy this game, but they've just been very consistent, very strong. We're seeing a pullback here actually onto that Orianna, so a rare misstep from Kurosh and an opportunity for Rise to saddle out of their base a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with you on the part of Kurosh. He definitely plays a part where he can kind of enable the rest of the team whilst having that stable amount of damage. He feel like we discussed it a little bit before. I feel like he's a very good core of the Gucci team. Whether we're going to start seeing in the later games, that's something that might get banned out. But as I believe you were informing me, he's a Zed main as well, so it's that Zed that you might fall back upon.
God, that'd be very scary. Don't want to see anyone getting their head ripped off. Minute and 15 to go until the 4th dragon of the game, the Mountain Dragon, would be sole point for Gucci if they can pick it up. And honestly, I think if I was Rise, just let this one go. But now, it's going to be difficult to fight them whilst they've still got this Baron, these pushing waves, and it's hard to assert yourself into the river when you are being pushed back so continuously. So, you don't need to do anything stupid, just let it go.
Yeah, no, I think the one unfortunate thing here as well also is just not seeing the Ketsuo being able to do what he wants to do. It's gotten too quickly to a team fight phase where he's not able to single out any targets, get those kills, and get the gold enough where he can take on. I mean, Rise really need that Ketsuo to be stronger, so they can kind of play that more pick and catch comp.
Potential engage coming through onto Dema there, but the Cassante tanky enough to withstand it. Baron has fallen away, so the pushing power of Gucci is diminished somewhat, but they do have that dragon that they can return to, spawning just under 10 seconds. For themselves, though, Rise actually looks like they're in a decent position to walk in, but they have got no vision in their bot side jungle. So Rise, it's going to be a hard time to contest Gucci on this objective, and I think it's probably gone before you even get over there.
Yeah, no, I think they definitely, as you was kind of suggesting, kind of just leave it. Maybe folks get a tower down. That would have been a way better trade-off. But nothing's been kind of done. They kind of just lingered around it and then gave up at the last moment.
It's not great stuff as... Now we are on a timer. As hold on. We've got a trigger pull for Fraser. DDD is gone. The Yunara that stood as a hope for this team is out of their Jamsu. Oh, that's some damn nice CC, mate, but it is way too late. The dive in from Ketsuo will be ultimately futile. A full house of kills, 3 for Thraze, 2 for Braindead, no one on Gucci falling.
Now it's time to push the base. Here we go. We got Trinity on the bottom.
Now we push the base.
Now we just push the base. You got Trinity on the bottom. We're gonna take that mid lane. Like, yeah, this is where all the pressure happens. All the base towers gonna be gone before anyone can really respawn properly. This is what they do. This is what they do.
Very, very rude stuff going on from the team on the red side. Gucci have only dropped one game so far this split. That was to the Brodden Friends right at the start. But since then, they have been winning, and it looks like they're going to be grabbing a 2-0 again this evening. Rise, though, the struggles continue for this team still. It looks like they're going to be ending their weeks without an earned win.
Gucci seem to know their place. I think they definitely want to fight for this Baron so they can make one final push. I think they knew they didn't have the strength for a final team fight inside the base. So this is good play from them. Good understanding for how much they can push it, and not giving so much of an easy push towards Rise in that late game.
And the thing is as well, you've taken out 3 of the enemy team's inhibitors. They are going to be spending the next 5 minutes just clearing out those super minions. So going for an objective like the Baron or the Hextech Soul, which is spawning in 3 minutes, those become really, really easy things for Gucci to do, because Rise Gaming have got bigger problems to deal with. They're starting to move out into their own jungle, but that's very risky positioning when you've got that Tryndamere here. DDD open to fire a little bit, but gets caught out by Barone on the other side, forced to flash away, not able to contribute any more damage to this fight. Jamsu, big pop blossom, but once again, where on earth is everything else? Another clean team fight for Gucci. They had to pay with a little bit of blood, but this Twitch can just do whatever the hell he wants. Not quite able to claim the kill there, but probably going to get these two. Double for Brain Dead. That's why the Twitch has been banned every single game before this one. Easy as you like for Gucci. Barely 30 minutes on the clock, and they know how to kill a Nexus. Down it goes, 2-0 for Gucci. Rice still hunting for that elusive first win.
I think in that last team fight, something to touch upon again, Barone once again just splitting up the fight, taking the attention of the Jarvan. Even, like, you can see the Cassandre doesn't know where to go, leaving his team for dead in the team fight, but then not being able to actually make any influence at all, either side, helping Jarvan. I think Barone just has a very strong knowledge of the game, knowing where to be and what to do.
Yeah, and I think that as a team, it feels weird to out certain individuals on Gucci, because it is so much of a team performance. We can point to certain players making good decisions in team fights, but if you keep doing that, eventually you're going to name every player in every team fight, because all of them just seem to be locked and loaded on the same page. It's great to see a team that, based on the nameplates people were anticipating to do well, actually pull it off, actually come together and look like a very strong, cohesive unit this early on in the season. I think that we should have high expectations for Gucci, and they've got to keep performing at this level if they're going to match them.
Yeah, definitely. I think across the two BO1s, I think everyone got their flowers on the side of Gucci. I think there was some strong, like, plays and interesting decisions coming from Rise. Unfortunately, this does make him this is like 2-4 now, and only having 2 wins on the side of a default. Whether they have that place in is going to be interesting. I want to see Rise do well and have them change up their play, because Keto seems like such a fun player to watch and have fun. Sorry, and have his game. Say fun 4 more times.
Just enjoy it, guys. Just enjoy it.
That's the lane. That's exactly what we want to see. We want to see people have fun, see people play their game. That's how we want it.
But I do just want to say, before we have to take our leave, Toast, because we are legally prevented from being on this stream any longer than we have been this evening. DDD, man. There's something here with this guy. There is something with this guy, and I think that if he can be properly unlocked, if he can find his comfort, if he could come into mid-game where the rest of the map isn't on fire, I think there is a lot of potential here. Rise definitely down, but far from out. That's the last thing you're going to be hearing from myself and Toast today, but don't fear, there are other people on this broadcast. We're going to look at them now, Toast. Look at them.
Just look back.
Oh dear.
No, it's fine. Sorry, I was just a bit traumatized by Middlecott's trying to look at me. It felt like a zoo. And I was just trying to, be that character. You know what I mean?
Truly left him
you know,
speechless.
The
Yeah,
wild
honestly.
Quino and Desk in their natural habitat.
But that game, I think it was quite different than the first one. I think that's mainly down to the compositions. But I want to ask you, Bandit, why do you think that one went the way it did?
I think we saw a lot of the strengths from Gucci appear once again, where you can see them fight themselves through it now, this time around, an even more positive early game for themselves. And once they have that edge garnered for themselves, they will lean on you, just relentlessly lean on you, push you around as a team, as a like these hit and run kind of skirmish jobs that they're doing. And the only thing that broke that up was Gucci getting into this, I'm going to call it a pissing contest with themselves, where they're like, no, I can do even better than you can do. Oh, you think that was interesting? I can do that way better. And they kind of
2v5,
threw
you
a little
say?
bit.
I've got 1v5.
Did you see that? I didn't even use Flash for that.
I do agree with that. It did feel very like back and forth between the lanes. It felt like those fights going on in just different places. It was just a dominance competition, really. I love that. What about you, Temporal? What was your the win con kind of in your thoughts?
Well, I think Gucci kind of did the opposite this game. Instead of suffering on sides, they excelled on sides. And then the game sort of crumbled and collapsed in front of them because, as it turns out, Kurosh being bullied isn't enough to spin the game on its head. Ketsu not able to make much out of the 2v2 gifts from Jarvan. Yeah, glimmers of hope for Rise. I'm not out here thinking they're coming 6th or 7th. I still think they're going to grow over the split, but I think they've got some clear targets to take away from today. Whereas Gucci, once again, just giving me a heart attack and having a bit of fun with it.
Yes, we can have a look at one of the replays in top lane, because we all know that top lane is just the key defining factor for both of these games. We had the Cassante and the Tryndamere. That's what you wanted to highlight, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think this TP was a little bit crazy. Demo's just I've got you. You're trying to play some wave games. Unfortunately, this was scheduled and Phrase is here. And the only thing worse than it teleporting back after an unforced base as a top laner is being mercilessly killed straight afterwards.
Yeah, and I'll add on to that. It's something that Temporal brought up whilst we were witnessing this as well. Is even if you do get the kill there, and it takes you so long to the point that you miss out on potential plates or the pressure on the other side of the map, it is kind of that I'm gonna call it very bluntly short-sightedness that we've seen from Rise in game 1 as well, where they seem very laser focused on what is right in front of them, sometimes meaning they are letting go of the big picture and the bigger map plays.
Do you think, because obviously we saw that they had kind of more comfort picks kind of vibes, do you reckon that just led them to be more synergized, because they're probably used to this a million times, Bandit?
Who are you referring to in this case? To Gucci
just
or
in the case of
Rise?
In the case of Gucci, they seem more synergized with who they're picking. It's what we're used to, I feel.
I feel like in both game 1 draft and in game 2 draft, we saw two compositions that are not necessarily textbook synergistic team compositions, but it is comfort in the players that are fielding these champions, that are piloting these characters, and in their comfort, they find unity. Because you can tell they seem to be communicating very almost instinctively, right? They are showing us on the map they can preempt what their teammates are in need of. And that can only really come to fruition when you are no longer too bothered and not taking up too much of that processing space of piloting the champion itself.
Okay, you mentioned short-sightedness earlier, and there was a jungle play that we can have a look at where I'm pretty sure that kind of point comes straight back in. So, Temporal, I'll let you give your thoughts.
Yeah, Bandits highlighted the second order thinking of Good Chi, looking at the right amount to the distance, does beat out with those plans, with those extra extra pieces, beats out the opponents who are simply relying on raw strength and raw moves. However, I think first order thinking for Phrase here as well is like, no, that's my dragon. I'm far ahead. Mine. Gets in there, yoinks it. Meanwhile, plates go over, teleports expended, and we didn't get a highlight on it there, but Tryndamere barreling down and did take the tier 3 in that moment as well. It's absolutely brutal.
Yeah, just the embodiment of having your cake and eating it too. And then also eating their cake. And having that one too, somehow.
So it's like the palette knife you'd serve the cake with, but there's a massive hook at the end. And you're just like, that's for me.
Or like one of those pizza scoops they have on those long sticks. You're like, thank you.
Oh, I love that. You know, it was. Unfortunately, our predictions weren't correct, but you know it happens. Bandit, you were correct.
If I'd have chose to
speak for yourself.
I fully expect Brain Dead would have sent this. By the way,
don't group me in with these casuals. Looks like I know your league better than you do yourself. No, I'm just kidding. even a broken clock, right?
But yeah,
it
was a pretty good way for it to go. I think the last game was a bit better for Rise, but unfortunately I don't think they were able to just capitalize on what they had. But up next, we do have Absolved versus Verdant Academy. That should be a pretty good one to watch. We are going to go to a quick break, and we'll be back with a new set of people on the desk, as Middlecott would say, to really take you through it. So we'll see you soon.
Oh, Malphite. All right, here we go. Just
Still going for this space. You would have. Chimera super
They're in
low.
trouble, but there's the Rakan coming in for the shielding. The shielding again.
Oh my God!
They lose.
And everyone bow down to Venom Crest. Two-time champion. Bow down to Jay.
Welcome back to the UKEL, and what can I say? You know, it's the second half of day 1, week 3. My producer is getting gassed in my ear before the match even begins, before we even lay out who's on the table, before we even lay out who's on the desk, which brings me to two very familiar faces. It's Rob, it's Bloxer. Welcome into the desk.
I'm excited. I am actually excited for today. Absol versus Verdant for game 2. I think that's two teams that have shown a few things. Like, you know, we've seen a bit from Verdant, we've seen some questionable things from Resolved, and I think this is a game that will test the kind of tier lists and where the standings actually lie.
Yeah,
and we've got Pool Party Rob on the show. You know, like that's that's what we're going for here.
So I'm having a wonderful day. I'm having a celebration.
Bloxer, obviously you're stepping into the UKEL. You're used to some LPL. This is going to be a matchup that could really surprise and could have some pretty big skill checks.
Yeah, it really is an interesting one. We're Absolved, despite the fact that they are 3-1 at the moment and have won a lot of games. They've shown us some questionable League of Legends, let's say. There's been a couple moments where I'm not so sure what they've been looking for, but who cares, really? If you're winning games, if you're constantly able to come out on top, that has been nice. Their ability to actually close out games from kind of odd play states has been really nice. That's been a really good bit of their gameplay. Whereas over on the other side, Verdant, it feels like they have got themselves a very interesting team where the mid lane has been popping off. I mean, Influentic has been excellent, and we'll get into that more a little bit later, but the rest of the squad around him hasn't really been able to step up. If they're able to, though, this superstar mid laner could definitely take them places.
Yeah, and well, let's have a look at the rosters. Let's go roster 1. Let's bring this one up because I feel like upsets happen. That's what we love UKEL for. I feel like there's definite potential, but this team from Resolved has come in pretty clean. They've got some big name hitters, no quitters, Rob. And like, we could just start with Rhythm, but we could also just go anywhere else because we all know about that player. Talk to me about someone else.
So I'm going to cover sort of the top side here, or rather the top and the jungle, because I think we should at this point know, being Lord and Emil. I think Uki's been incredible in jungle. Honestly, sort of surprising. I thought he might come in. He looked like a Lee Sin kind of player. You know, is he going to adapt to playing in the UK? Because again, the UK is such a weird place to play for some of these players coming from other lands. He just looked really comfortable on champions like Kiana, things like this. Soymil, on the other hand, Urgot, very good at Urgot, at least according to his sort of solo queue record. I don't know if this guy's had the best success, even though they're 3-1. I think in a lot of his games he's been playing like the Rumble, and I don't know if he's actually been solid enough. And when they come up against other teams where maybe their top laners can exploit a lack of champion pool. I mean, Synapse has a lot of weird picks in his back pocket for today, for example. Maybe that's an angle where people attack this roster, because otherwise, on paper, I had them as sort of top 3. I think Emil, Rhythm, and Gibble bots are sort of mid-bot are just too good to really pass up on. Questions on the top side, and in particular Soymu for me.
Okay, and Bloxer, do you feel similar sentiment to Rob here? Are you also maybe saying that, you know, that top side is maybe potentially the thing that needs bolstering a little bit more?
Potentially, although I think it's been getting a little bit better. In their first couple games, it was going to be the Rumble top lane that Somu was playing, and that was okay. You know, it was doing well enough, but again, as Rob was saying, against high-level competition, maybe that doesn't keep going. But in the last couple of games, has been playing the Ornn. Maybe the tank duty, I think, looked a little bit better overall. They've had a very interesting draft strategy overall anyway. Emil has been all of their first picks. They've just been picking first for him. It'll be interesting to see if that continues on, because I think teams that are, again, higher level, maybe with better coaching sat behind them, could begin to exploit these very obvious draft tendency that this team has been really leaning into.
I guess also, like, because we're talking about like potentially top 3 here, we're talking about good record already, like they are on course to make it to playoffs. Obviously you can't count anyone in just yet, but I feel like there's a sentiment where also, how does that continue throughout the split, right? Because obviously we're going to have new patches, we're going to have different formats when we go into playoffs. Like, it's definitely gonna be a little bit interesting. But let's go on to the second roster coming up. Let's bring on people who are the essential underdogs today, because I don't think anyone is locking in Verdant 2-0. There's a couple 1-1s coming out from some very smart people around the rosters, but you know, a lot of people are picking 2-0. Why are you hating?
I think I wonder who that smart person could be who's picked a 1-1
Trajan.
Of course. I mean, is a genius, frankly. No, I think this roster on paper, as Bloxer brought up right at the beginning, I think Influentic has had some pretty good games. I think Podex, especially in that series versus Rise, or rather in that series we saw versus Rise, I think Podex looked pretty good, at least kind of lapping Kier in the jungle, so he's had a bit of a showing. Interesting picks as well, like the Aatrox, for example, coming out. The biggest questions for me here, as actually there's a sub in the bot lane in support here, all right? That used to be Smokon, it's now gone to Walker. Yeah. I think there are questions for me on Synapse, who even in that win against Rise, I think he was not getting the better of Demo, for example, in that matchup. And then on the bot side, I think Cobby and what was Smokon were really struggling in the 2v2. Yeah. Was that part draft? That's a question. It's also a question on whether it was, whether they were comfortable on the roles they were playing. Cobby was on Yanara and didn't look particularly solid in the laning phase in some previous games, especially against Bulldogs. So I think I want to see a bit of a step up from the sides of the map, not so much the middle.
Okay. No, that's. I think that's pretty fair. I will say, Silence Prince has been in the game. Like, he been in this game for long. As we there get our predictions briefly on the screen. I'm 50/50. These two are 2-0. We've got Trajan, I believe, is 50/50, and I feel like Nick V may have said 2-0 as well. So we'll see a little bit later. Maybe we even got those coming up on the screen. But I feel like Silence Prince have been in the league. Like, you know what I mean? Influentic been in the league. Like, I feel like these players are quite old school legacy. There's obviously some newer rookies on their team, and I would expect the solo lanes to really kind of pull their weight and really kind of step forward into this one. But you're saying that there's a little bit of like more needed from that top side as well, and I feel like I guess that's almost the featured matchup of the day in a way, right? Like, because you're both talking about how the top lane could maybe go a little bit harder. Bloxer, it does feel like actually this could be potentially not necessarily like the Achilles heel of a team, but it could also potentially be a win factor.
Yeah, very much. If you're looking for a win right here from Verdant, I think top lane is where you're really going to be looking towards. When I look at these matchups, the bot lane I'm very worried about for Verdant. They did not have a good time in their previous matches versus Bulldog or Rise. Now, these are perfectly reasonable bot lanes, but these are not the level of bot lane that you're facing here today. Rhythm and Beanlord, if they play on their level, should rip this bot lane from Verdant apart. So then you're looking towards the rest of the map. Where can you find your influence? You expect Influentic to do well. That's probably the best matchup they have. So it very much is going to be the top lane, as you're saying, Jay, where you need to be looking if you think they can take over the top. And it is also, I think, a pretty good option for it, because again, if Soimu decides to play more of the tanky looks that he's been looking towards previously, that really does unlock you to play something a little bit more aggressive. The only worry for me is that we may end up hyping this matchup quite a lot, and then we could end up with an Ornn Sion matchup, right? An Ornn Cassante matchup. Either way, both of these two do very much like themselves the tanky picks as well.
All right, let's get into the draft. Talking about tanky picks, Rob trying to talk over me, classic Rob. And we got an immediate Urgot ban, which, Blox is going to be happy about. He is a #1 Urgot hater. I don't know if you're like a loopy Urgot hater specifically, or if it's just Urgot, period. But either way, it's gone. It's not there. Rumble also taken off the map. So, you guys were talking about Absol potentially getting their pool pinched in that top side. They are definitely feeling a little bit of pressure there.
They usually like those tanky. They seem to have gone, well, if you're not going to get your Urgot, you're going to have to go towards, we said the Ornn, we said the Rumble. More of like a they generally weak-sided them as well, even on the Rumble. So these kind of, you can play them into any kind of matchup kind of champions. I will say Synapse, what I was going to say is that Synapse has played Gwen already in this split. So there are it isn't like Verdant are against picking carries on the top side. They can maybe exploit that. Karma first pick is crazy. I think that seems really insane to me. Well, I think it's just early on. Usually you want to pair this with the ADC. Like, this is, so now you're going to say, well, am I going to pick Yanara if you're Verdant? Probably
not.
Could it
not go mid or top? Is it not a three-way flex?
It's just not really very good in those roles at the moment. It almost definitely is going towards the support role, and I don't think it's necessarily the premier support you're going to want. It's surprising to see that picked up first. I don't know what you think, Bloxer, but I think this is already surprising to me.
It is very surprising. I'm also surprised by the side that's picked it. Absolved haven't really shown that the Karma is something they particularly want to be playing. It is a takeaway from Verdant. That is very much something that we have seen Verdant like to play, and it does immediately influence what you're playing in the bot lane. You want to be getting aggressive with it. You want to be pairing up with something, I don't know, like the Caitlyn potentially, where you can just take over a lane. I think it's a very smart response out of Verdant to pick themselves up this Caitlyn here. I think right here as the Caitlyn and the Seraphine, you have a pretty free lane, even into the Varus, which is one of those premier picks. This bot lane is immediately going to be very explosive.
Now, you're both smart people. Talk to me a little bit about this Varus. Obviously, we're speaking through draft. Xin Zhao was picked up as well. Nice early jungle. But the Varus, I feel like maybe I'm just out of it a little bit right now, but I feel like everyone's been talking Varus all the time, every day. and they didn't pick it up, and they've given it over to Absolved.
It's just an incredibly it's strong, but I think when you see like a Karma, you're gonna go, are they gonna play Caitlyn Karma into us as the classic combo? I think that's always like a concern, and so you're gonna take the Caitlyn away first, and then you don't really mind that matchup. Varus usually would go poke in this, not going to go towards like that Dusk and Dawn build was nerfed on the previous patch. Kind of speeding along here. You see the Xin Zhao and the Jarvan. It's just trading at the moment in terms of more priority picks in the jungle role. Xin Zhao, one of the most popular across the world at the moment, and then Jarvan, it gives you access onto these, you know, the immobile carry of the Varus. The bans as well. It does surprise me to see an Orianna ban coming out from Verdant, because I'm surprised they didn't want to take it themselves on 4. Aurora, that's an Influentic champion. He's been playing it quite a lot, at least in solo queue over the past sort of year. If you've been keeping up to date with a guy who's not been in the league for that long, just in general, not surprising to see these being taken off the board.
Am I okay? Just quick side note. Am I wrong in thinking Influentic used to play Neferi? Like, is that?
Yeah, he did. He's a Zed player as well.
Yeah,
He's like was a big AD
Okay,
assassin player, but has a huge champ pool with every mage as well. So it's kind
Literally
of hard to predict what he
everything
wants.
You can imagine. Yeah, I mean, he's pulled out the Aurelion Soul earlier this league as well, so like he can play everything, the entire spectrum of picks. Surprisingly enough, they've still been picking his champions kind of early. They haven't been giving him so much counter pick to really exploit that so much. I would have expected them to have leaned into that a little bit more, but still, they could very much be doing that at this point in the draft. Like you said, the bans coming off of the board, not particularly surprising overall. I do like the Cassante with this draft right here. You need a little bit of extra beefiness up front to be able to give you that front line. Still, from Influentic, they're going to need a lot of damage out of your mage class, otherwise you're kind of running out of it in this composition.
But they have kind of just said we're not going to try and slam down the top side, right? Because Cassante, okay, yes, really dangerous, can definitely do a lot of things, but he's not going to be like the 1v9 carry split push Fiora kind of essence, right?
I don't say that. We watched some Cassante gaming recently. Earlier today, there was some real Cassante gaming happening topside. Like
every day.
Synapse, that's what I'm saying. Prove me wrong, brother.
I will say Cassante was one of Synapse's best when he was last in the league. Everyone talks about Udyr for this guy, but Cassante was the champion he picked a lot when he was last seen. I think it was, I can't remember which team it was on now. It was ages ago that he was last in it, but it was his main pickup. The Poppy pick into it makes a lot of sense. It generally neutralizes the matchup. Also very good here into the Jarvan. I have to see what they want to round out with mid, because again, Ahri, a lot of people like this as a playmaking kind of tool here, which makes sense if you're playing Absolved. I think you are kind of lacking that a little bit in terms of you've got the Chains of Corruption, but you don't have an engaged support, and Poppy and Xin Zhao don't always want to just like run into the enemy team and die. So Ahri is a playmaking tool to bring out in mid lane. See what Influentic want in this matchup.
This
very hard mid game, but we'll see how this. Nah, don't do it. Don't do it.
No.
Dislike,
no, absolutely
dislike
not.
In the chat
no.
if this gets locked in. Yes, like, big like. Okay,
really
Cassiopeia,
yes.
That is a lot of fun. That is very interesting as well. And you talk about picking things that aren't commonly picked. Well, this one is definitely a little bit slippery. Rob, talk to me about the end of the drafts, because I will say this. I feel like Absolved have gone hard on the mid game. If we go late game, I just don't see how Verdant no win.
I would say overall I like Verdant's draft. The only thing to mention here is about the fact if this is a poke Varus, you know, the lethality special, Rhythm is very good at Varus. Very good. And I think he showed that when he joined Good-Chi at the end of the previous split. He played a couple of Varus games where he was phenomenal on that pick. And if they can deny access here, maybe Rhythm can go unchecked. But I do agree with you. Other than that, I think they've just generally got, you know, better scaling. Their team fight should be easier. They've got an easier couple go buttons in the Jarvan and the Seraphine. Overall, comfort as well, I should say, with the Synapse Cassante. Preferring the Verdant draft, I think it's going to be a lot actually on Rhythm this game, as well as Emil to then look for players. Because if Rhythm can stay alive, they have ways of denying the access onto him this game, is the only thing I will say. Cassio doesn't like being poked down. Varus can do that kind of poking.
Okay, blocks up. Well, what's your take? You talked about you like Cassante. It could win a game, but there's Varus on the other side, and obviously we do have nameplates on as well. We do have to remember that.
Very much, and with nameplates on, I worry a little bit about this bot lane. You are right now sat with your Caitlyn Seraphine bot lane, where you kind of want to be getting at least a little bit of an advantage, otherwise you're not using the Caitlyn as effectively. Best Caitlyn players get themselves a good couple of plates early from the bot lane, rotate up to top lane, take a couple plates, get yourself that early injection of gold, and then make the rest of the game work. Are you going to be able to do that versus Rhythm and Beanlord, especially into a Varus and a Karma? That's a really tricky lane. That's another one that can poke you back, can make it hard. So I think this bot lane if it starts going the way of Absolved, that's the way that they really start winning this game. Otherwise, this is such an odd draft out of them, where you've got lots of poke, yeah, sure, but your engage options are just a little bit lackluster. You've got a couple bits where you've got one person flying in, one person flying in. If you're able to get that full combo off together, maybe there's a chance for Absolve right here. I'm not saying they're counting out of this game, but considering that Verdant were coming in as the team we were expecting to be, a little bit worse, you know, not the team we were really favouring in this matchup, I really do like their draft a lot more. I think it works a lot more cohesively together.
Yeah, I think execution, obviously, always one thing that has to be looked at, right? Absolve, definitely, as you said, a lot more pick orientated rather than team fight orientated. And I feel like in UKEL, Rob, like sometimes it just comes down to, can you team fight, right? Obviously, if Absolve really snowball the mid game, then we're not gonna have too many questions. But you know what, Verdant, they could be kind of creeping. They could be kind of creeping on this one, but that is all we have time for. We've said what we've said. We've got our predictions down. We're going to throw this one over to the casters. CJ, Nick V, take it away.
Thank you, Jay Real. My name is Trajan. I'm here with Nick V. We're about to get this cast started, everybody.
Ooh,
Verdant Academy. got jump scared a little bit there. Verdant Academy versus Absolved. Now, our predictions, Jay was right. I was 1-1 on my predictions, and he did theorize that you were a 2-0, Nick. Is that correct? Are you an Absolved truther here today?
Yes. So when we made the butter tier list, we put Absolved like way above Verdant. So I cannot waste the tier list just like that. So I have to go 2-0.
Yeah, you can't forsake them so quickly out the gate in the season. But however, after that draft, gotta be honest, I'm feeling pretty good about my 1-1. I think Verdant have come out. They are proving to be very kind of cunning drafters. It's very hard to kind of box them in. They're willing to deny the enemy team's potential options without an issue. And it seems like they've now put together this quite dangerous siege composition where if they're in control of the pace of the game, I don't really know how Absolve break into that. I think they're quite heavily relying on the rhythm Varus, said Rob has teed up on the desk, that he's kind of got to pop off, and if he doesn't, I kind of don't really know where that leaves Absolved.
Exactly. Like when you look at the drafts then, and you look at Absolves right now, you're thinking, okay, but who is going to actually initiate the fight? You have to have very good coordination with the jungle mid pairing, Arians and Zhao, to really pull something off. And then Poppy's kind of there to make sure it's a 4v5. But if that is not, if there's no angle to do that, then Verdant Academy has all the ingredients to just make every decision on the map, basically. So I'm really looking for Absolve to play the macro game better than Verdant's, and specifically just stacking Drakes and get those neutral objectives ready.
Yeah, they need to come away with a lead, I think, so they can play aggressively on the front foot. Otherwise, I think it's going to get tough for them. And Verdant Academy have proven that they're able to mount a comeback if the opportunity is given to them. In their most recent series, they managed to get 2 wins. And, one of them was a solid stomp, like a solid win they were in control of, and the other one was a genuine comeback. So we've seen a bit of versatility from Verdant. You cannot count them out. Certainly a roster that we wouldn't have had the highest expectations of coming into the split, a bit of a question mark over them, as opposed to Absolved, where these guys, as you say, the quality on this roster is obvious, but it's not really clicked, I think, for me. I think the Absolved roster is still taking time to bed in, and we're not quite seeing them at full potential yet.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to see what they can really bring to the table. And if we want to see the proper macro that we are expecting them to have, if we look purely at the team right now, the draft right now, they have to step up as we head into the game. Absolved versus Verdant Academy. And it does look like they are basically going for the standard defense right now. Interesting in the LCK, teams spotting each other. We saw that, I think it was FearX who knew that T1 never covers the bot side, so they had the Trundle, a Trundle there, invaded the blue side and instantly just took all of that away. So that's, I think, an interesting thing that Four Nations can also look at.
Yeah, the evolving level 1s, given the vastly reduced timer of minion spawns, has very much changed the pace of the game down there. Invades and early jungle pathing have had to adapt quite quickly to that new system. I'm sure there's plenty more to explore that we'll see in the coming months as the waves do crash in here. So we're currently watching, looking at top lane there. I don't think we're really expecting too much out of this. Poppy Cassante should just be kind of wet noodle fighting. No one really, I think, has the opportunity to get a clean advantage, bar some sort of crazy jungle interference, but I expect they're just going to be 2 tanks tanking it out.
Kind of. I do think that Poppy gets like an early shove. You can already see it. She has the passive that stacks up together with, of course, the is it called Sheep Dash? I don't know, the Q. She basically has 2 skills to use at level 1, and Cassandre cannot really fight against that, because if he can create a shield, then he will have that on a skill, while Poppy has that built in her passive, so she can quite easily trade that and get a bounce off. But other than that, you know, when both champions are level 3, I think that severely changes into indeed a sponge fight, basically.
Yeah, we can see, Synapse is going to have to hold the L for the first few levels, that's for sure, but unlikely to be in kill threat, or something has to go pretty drastically wrong right there. And both of these junglers pathing top to bottom right now, Podix and UKE here, and this matchup I think is quite pivotal to this one. Podix obviously with the Jarvan has a lot of playmaking potential, can be active early, whereas UKE, as we say, doesn't necessarily have easy tools to break through a Verdant siege line, but he does have the Xin Zhao champion, you know, as you were describing it to me in the call before we went live, is broken. It's quite an overpowered champion, so ultimately we'll see what he can do with it.
Yeah, Cheetah Recall just now broken, so Varus has to stay and catch his wave. It means that the Caitlyn and Seraphine, they can either stay pushing to get a further lead, or, you know, you can get a very quick call off and get like a cull or something for the extra gold. Make sure that you scale up faster, because I feel like Caitlyn and Varus kind of scale the same way, in that they get powerful after that first item but then start falling off after a while. Of course, Caitlyn does crit a lot, so in that sense I think her scaling is not as bad as Varus's. But it's definitely telling. I like the teleport though, so you don't miss minions.
Yes, and he did require it, right? Did get pushed in. That's pretty important to see for the Verdant Academy fans. They needed this bot lane to maintain some semblance of control, I think. When you draft a combination like this, they saw the karma, denied the potential Caitlyn pick and put a Seraphine with it instead. So they need to have a decent laning phase, I think, for them to get into this mid game okay before they go into the dreaded Caitlyn 2-item trough. As an aggressive heal popped by Beanlord, in fact, trying to get them in range, and they're poking down Seraphine pretty darn low.
They just want to make sure that she can't heal as much as she really wants to, because I feel like if you go and trade on the AD carry, then if you go even in trades as Varus Karma, you kind of lose it, since the Seraphine can just heal it back up. So what you do is you keep poking the Seraphine so that she runs out of mana fast, and after that, then you can poke onto the AD carry, because there's not enough mana to really heal that off.
And we can see if Kobe manages to pick up the majority of these minions, that is going to be a pretty comfortable CS lead built up. But Rhythm and Beanlord trying to use the advantage of having a full recall and tier buy on the Varus, TPing back in. They've tried to put the pressure back onto Caitlyn and Seraphine, and ultimately they will have to pull that recall at some stage. So Verdant Academy ends up going relatively even at the end of this first little passage of play here, only costing a teleport for Rhythm. So Absolved stabilizing that bot lane just a little bit. We can see some deep warding from Influentic as well. We haven't really touched on the mid lane too much, but oh, he did get that one. I think just the plate goal at the end there. But Influentic, you know, it's pretty hard to crack a Cassiopeia. Obviously, the ult level has been hit by Emil. He's got the Spirit Rush ready, and Influentic has no dashes, but he can try and safely farm it out, block with the Miasma if needed.
Yep, press W on Cassio, and then suddenly Ahri, for a little bit of time, does not have her ultimate, even if she has it activated. Right now, you do see that Seraphine did go into the mid side in case Ahri is there to push the wave even further into the tower of Cassiopeia, so that they can cover it, and Cassiopeia can just safely farm, as you said. But now you do have it in a 2v1. Although, you know, Seraphine, full of mana, can heal the Caitlyn up if she really needs to. But of course, you kind of want to save that, since with the passive, you get a shield off of it as well.
You're waiting here. They're trying to get the root onto Kobe. He's going to E away. I was going to have to burn the flash and the heal right there. Almost completed the recall, did the Xin Zhao, but ultimately they will steal away a couple of summoners. So a nice little play by Absolved, adding the threat level onto this Verdant Academy bot lane. Once the Varus has ultimate, that's going to be a pretty scary tool to catch them out with.
Flash out, heal out. It means that the next time there is a gank, that Caitlyn might just die. Really depends on how they set it up, because there's no proper CC yet to really make sure that someone stands in place for the knockup. But with Varus pretty close to level 6, next gank should be pretty strong.
Yeah, we're starting to see the just the
Ooh,
value of levels going on to this Varus and Karma right now. You see he's gone Tier and Cull as the first 2 items, but his his charged up arrows are still chunking down both the Verdant Academy bot laners. They are not feeling very comfortable in this lane. It has turned rapidly against them over the last minute or so.
It's like the early game thing, right? Where you go off. Oh, there's a little bit of a trade between the top laners.
Really slapping each other a fair bit. And Poppy down below half. Synapse starting to take a little bit more control here. Down a couple of minions, but has stabilized after those tricky first few levels.
But what we did see on the bot wave was that kind of falling into the trap of getting your first item being attack speed, and now a crit cloak as well. It really makes sure that Caitlyn doesn't have the damage to trade with this Varus, who pretty much just has AD in his build right now. Don't underestimate the Cull. It actually gives you pretty good stats.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly making good use of them. Kobe is struggling a little bit, and obviously the Karma poke is nothing to be sniffed at early on, going into that early amp tome to make sure those Manfred Soul Flares are stinging when they connect. So we'll see maybe if Podex has something to say about this. We haven't seen kind of hide nor hair of the J4 jungle. Has hit level 6 as a Cataclysm ready to go, and neither Karma nor Varus have dashes of their own. It's flash or bust for them, and they're starting up the dragon right now.
Yeah, Drake being started by Absolve right now, really early into the stacking, right? That's exactly what we were talking about when we saw the draft, is what they need to do is get those neutral objectives ready, and it's really just about waiting to see when Verdant is going to do anything against that. Do see to go into like a small bug or a pause, but we'll be right back, I guess.
Don't worry about it, everybody. No fear. Probably just a small spectator client moments right here. So we did see the dragon picked up by Absolved, and we got more fights down in the bot side. So a good opener for Absolved, who have opened up about a 600-700 gold lead for themselves in these first 8 minutes off the laning advantages.
I hate that
Podex,
you said that.
as you say. Podex, I know I didn't intend for it, sadly, but I have lost aura as a result, unfortunately. Podex has hit the back, and he's trying to get towards that first item. But yeah, I want to see something out of this Jarvan before too long, because Absolved are starting to just win the war of attrition across the map so far.
Definitely, and Varus is winning the CS lead right now. You can already see 80 versus about to hit 70, and it is going to pay dividends for him as well, because there's also getting a lot of plates at the same time. So it's not just a CS score, it's also money that he gets off of breaking that tower shot by shot, and it does mean that he will get a quick lead over the Caitlyn. With the Arcane Comet, it does tell me immediately that it will be a poke Varus, so a lethality, and it's going to be pretty effective as a gank happens.
Here, Kobe tries to get away. The first blood already concluded. Encore cannot stop them, and so much burst coming out of this Absolved dive. The TP far too slow to affect it.
Absolutely, and now giving a plate over to the Ahri as well is not what you want to do. You basically lose a tower and give gold to the enemy mid laner. It's just not what you want to do. 2 plates being taken here.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I think the Verdant Academy comp is potentially hard to deal with from a position of control, they are now decidedly without it. 2k down a Drake as well as we approach the 10-minute mark, and coming into this mid-game with Ahri starting to hit that mid-game spike with an item completed for UKEL on the Xin Zhao. These are going to be very, very big threats to deal with. And Verdant are maybe just going to have to try and batten down the hatches and turtle through it. You know, the Cassio is going to need plenty of time to scale. Hasn't got anywhere near the Rod of Ages yet. And it's going to be a while before these Verdant carries really start to hurt.
You need some time as well to get your quest going, because Cassiopeia being in the bot lane, they have to find a moment to go for that whole lane swap between the two. But with the Varus having TP, he can just go and push that wave anyway. And now Cassio is like, okay, what do I do now? Because Ahri has pushed the wave in again, missing all of that XP and gold. And she can get a gank off on the top lane as well.
And it's actually the first item Serpent's Fang for Rhythm as well. Synapse Sprinter a little bit under threat right now. Is going to get a stun up from the Poppy into the Charm. The combo just as easy as that. And Absolved put the third on the board.
All off of a TP wasted. Look at what Absolved is doing on the map. Making plays everywhere. And that's exactly why drafting basically two strong lanes right now is just so good because Poppy just beats out the Cassante and they get a gank off, and with Cassiopeia just giving Ahri the space that she needs to help the team, you can already see the gold lead happening. 4K.
Look at that Seraphine getting chunked down, and this isn't even, this is, I think, maybe utilize the Varus ultimate, which is on cooldown, but the Seraphine is so low, doesn't have any summoners, and they go for the dive again. Podex trying to abandon them. Kobe's already left. There's no assistance for Walker. It's maybe going to root them up under the tower, but it's being expertly piloted by Absolved. He's going to let the wave come in. Podex with the last desperation. Cataclysm tries to slide to safety, but there's just no way out. It's Utki with another kill.
Just great synergy between all of these players. Caitlyn might be next.
He's trying to get back into tower range. They're a little lower, but the Crescent Guard's still available. And now Rhythm looking for the dive. Doesn't land the piercing arrow, but there's just so much poke damage. One last auto will get it done. The minions have gone down, though. It is going to be Rhythm with another kill, and the shield easily gets him to safety.
From bad to worse, this is just like an apocalypse to Verdant right now. There's nothing that they even get in the bot lane this time. Walk to lane, died immediately.
It's a nightmare for Verdant Academy. They needed to get through this laning phase relatively comfortable, and they're coming out of it anything but, Nick B. This is just a disaster for them, as you say. It's going from bad to worse right now. The only person without a death on the board is Influentic. He's got the Rod of Ages now stacking up, but there's minutes and minutes to wait until this Verdant comp comes online, as Absolved just keeps snowballing further and further ahead.
Podex need to do something on this map. If you pick Jarvan and you just don't get the ganks off that you want to, Jarvan gets uses pretty fast. Like, suddenly he becomes like a walking ultimate, and that's really it. So mid laners are going for fights in Xiao with the flank.
Oh no, Influentic maybe feeling the pressure to make a play and puts himself in danger. Lovely backstep from Uki, avoids the petrifying gaze. And now they're following up with a potential charm onto Podex. Don't have the damage to finish that kill off as another kill drops in bot lane. Rhythm snowballing 3-0-2 on the Varus now, as the entire map is on fire.
Exactly what we need to see them do. Just dominate everywhere on the map. This is exactly why you drafted this team. You're on a timer. Right now, they're making quick use of it as well.
They have to keep the pace high. Do not let Verdant get their feet under them, and Absolved will be well on their way to locking up a swift first win in this semi-best of two series that we have going on right here. First turret already gone, and Rhythm is just pushing for the next one. They've just got so much control across the map. He feels safe enough to crash another wave into the inner.
Stepping beyond the tempo line, though, there is a Xin Zhao backing him up in case there's a gank. They do see the Cassiopeia with a deep ward as well, so there's no danger for this Varus, who can just back off, reset, and then go to, I would assume, the mid lane, as you want to kind of put Ahri onto a side. Yep, you can already see her walking towards bot lane. There's nothing that can really stop Emil right now from really just putting the shove into the back line and then going for like a shift towards mid lane and then try to take down that tower.
Verdant will need to try and find, I'm not sure if we need to try and find a way out or if they need to literally just try and stem the bleeding, try and stop the deaths coming through. You're kind of waiting to get to, you're already about to hit the kind of doldrums for Caitlyn in this game. Even if she wasn't 0-3 and down 42 CS, it is going to be a long time before Kobe is able to really stack up in damage. And the rest of Verdant Academy need to somehow break into this Absolved line. If they can isolate Rhythm, if they can get on top of this Varus, maybe, you know, he doesn't have a true escape method of his own, but it's going to be so hard with the amount of damage coming back for them. It's going to be second Dragon over to Absolved, as Uki will pick it up without a contest.
Jarvan right now needs to make a cross-map play. He does start off on the Rift Herald. There's nothing else that he can really do, because like even if you want to go for a gank on the top side, it's a Poppy. You play a Jarvan. Poppy only has to press W and she's out. Like, even like if she has the passive, she hits one of you and then she gets a movement speed boost so that she just runs out regardless. So it is very rough to play this game as Podex.
Yeah, he does have the smite if he's going to get a chance to get it off, but there's just no way out. So close to picking the objective up, but it's another win for Absolved on the top line. They'll get the kill and the Herald, and Synapse just trying to crash away while he can. This has really been not really about the top laners in this game. The rest of the map is where Absolved have been finding the wins, but sadly it is going to leave Synapse behind the curve.
This is the typical moment of a top laner where, you know, when you're left alone on your island, just, you know, just hitting your opponent, and then suddenly you look at your team and the whole map is on fire. Probably feels like that. The mid tower already taken down, so that Rift Herald isn't even used yet, and I would assume that he keeps that for a while until the Drake is about to spawn, and it should be around the same time that the Baron is spawning.
Sadly, with the rest of the map in the state that it is, Synapse is trying to punish onto UKE by keeping him in tower range, but it's barely scraping him below half HP. The rest of the map fire has spread to top lane, and Synapse has burned down with it. The TP's now coming in, Absolved happy to take another scrap up here. UKE's popped the Crescent Guard, caught up by the Encore. Podix looking for a knock-up. They're getting the Xin Zhao pretty low, but the TP's coming in. One last kill and a shutdown flew into Entic. Verdant finally on the board, but a Herald now crashing in. Podix buffers out the flag and drag, flashes away from the follow-up by Rhythm to escape the Paris ultimate. As Herald now crashing into topside. It's small consolation for Verdant Academy as the Poppy is looking to get a wallbang or a knockback as soon as possible. Flash away from Seraphine. Kobe desperately trying to scramble back to the safety of the inner turret as Emil is diving into the base to catch a retreating Jarvan. Now Synapse back up the field, implement it with a possible flank angle, but we are still kind of outnumbered. The bot lane is nowhere and has no play, no purchase in this top lane. Synapse doing what he can, holding that line. 4 people swarming over him, goes unstoppable, a bash into the wall, walks into the charm, implement it with a miasma, tries to do what he can, but Rhythm goes unstoppable, and an endless team fight still concludes with Absolved up.
I feel like Kane at the very beginning of that team fight wanted to make like a highlight clip for himself when he hopped into that Rift Herald instead of poking the enemy team. That allowed Verdant to actually get a kill in that fight, but even after that, Absolve was just way stronger than the opponent. They had all the stats that they wanted to, you know, they had leads everywhere, and they just ran down Verdant here. At least it gives Verdant a chance to climb back a little bit. But it's still a very long climb to make. There's a 10 gold deficit, 10k gold deficit between the two teams.
Yeah, it is going to have to be some serious mistake making from Absolve to open up this gap that has, the door has barely been cracked open with that first kill. But now Walker under threat by UKE, flashing in, and the burst is just insane from Absolved right now. Now they're hunting down the rest of the team. Podix under fire. Rhythm with another kill. Clips the ultimate onto Implementing. A wallbang from Poppy. And they're going from one to the next to the next. Just one by one. The Verdant Academy members falling again.
Yo, are we playing Modern Warfare or something? This is bringing me back to the good old days of COD 4.
Just getting sprinting around the map.
Yeah, exactly. He's shooting them everywhere. Just surprised they're not planting a bomb.
Oh my god, Synapse is looking for a play onto Emil right now, and the Ahri with Spirit Rush is pretty hard to lock down. He'll push him away from the turret. Cannot really say much more about it as mid lane inner is destroyed. Rhythm. This is one of the players that Rob, in particular on the desk, was saying we need to see Rhythm step up this game. This draft revolves around Rhythm being strong. 7-0-4. He's about 60-something CS up 19 minutes into the game. This is a Rhythm masterclass if ever I saw one.
And I like how he just made sure that he itemizes in a good way to counteract the enemies, right? They have a lot of shields in the Cassante, but also the Seraphine, who just gives shields basically everywhere. So that even like when she tries to do that, going to heal, Varus has E built in, and with the Serpent's Fang, you basically nerf the shields that gets put on to your enemy. So Varus is basically just a hard counter into the Seraphine here.
Yeah, even the Jarvan's popping small shields on some of the abilities. So much usage from those type of defenses from Verdant Academy that are being nullified, and was happy enough to just go straight into Serpent's Fang first, not even going for a more standard first item, getting the maximum use out of that option right now as Verdant crashing into this top tower. They are going to get some plates and try and get some gold. It's at the trade of a Cloud Drake right now though. UKE is working that objective on the other side of the map once again with no one to stop him.
Poppy was pushing the bot lane as well, so made sure that Cassio, or at least someone, had to catch that one. Mid was pushed, everything is basically pushed, and now we can see the collapse.
Yeah, they've got no assistance right now. It's 3 lone members of Verdant getting collapsed on, and in comes Emil with the engage. The Seraphine is going to be the first picked off. Synapse next on the chopping block, rooted up by Bean Lord. Kane's looking for an option, and Kobe's been isolated in mid lane, trying to pick up a wave, punished instantaneously. Synapse and Podix will escape in the top lane, but it is now 17 kills to 1 in Absolved's favor. The Baron is now live, and I don't think Verdant can do much about this.
Absolutely not. It might be a little bit of a slow take though, because there's no proper DPS on the side of Absolved, but there's almost no contesting it. Like, Caitlyn's already gone, Seraphine just spawned, you have no wards. Well, they can kind of see that they have started, but there's like no safe entrance for them. Like, Poppy is already bullying the Jarvan.
Yeah, there's just no way through that steadfast presence, and the blue team will secure that Baron. Verdant have to just sit back and wait for Absolved to just start pushing in these waves to look for potential flanks or an overextension. There's a lot of shutdown gold on the field ready to be picked up if they can find a way on top of it, but it's going to require mistake making by Absolved that they just have not shown in game 1 so far.
I just realized something. Don't look at the 80 carry diff. Don't look at the items. It's 1.5 against 3.
Oh my word, dude, it is just unplayable down there. It is, you know, I think the Caitlyn pick was decent in the draft, but sadly it's not worked out. Synapse now isolated in top lane again with a Baron powered wave coming up. Absolved will clear the Cassante out and start focusing on the turrets.
Well, as long as they can turtle, Verdant at least has a shot. It's kind of a small shot, but still 14k gold deficit between the two. The only shot that you really have is because the towers in your base are pretty much next to each other. It's pretty easy to defend all 3 lanes, but with Absolved being so strong right now, right, and having poke as well next to that, it's so difficult to get that wave clear going. Cassiopeia has wave clear, but she's pretty short range. She just bursted everywhere, and I think they're just ready to end the game here.
And into a Baron especially, you really need an AD carry to burn through those waves. Kobe was trying to get as much gold as he could in bot lane. He's come back with an Infinity Edge. The charm does not land onto Influentic, and the final defense has started. One Nexus tower is down. Seraphine's already isolated. Rhythm with that kill goes legendary. Uki diving past the last remaining Nexus tower. Kobe chunked down. Another charm from Meal, this time onto Influentic. Pushes the carries back onto the fountain. And Absolved swarm over the base. They're going to lock down a 23-minute win. 21 kills to 1 in this first game against Verdant Academy. Make it 2 as a fountain dive goes wrong, but no one can question the Absolved team in this game.
I'm not going to lie. I don't think I've ever seen if I saw it correctly, 17k gold lead to end the game.
Not 23 minutes. No, yeah. That's a bit... I didn't even earn that much gold.
That's very rough. It's going to be I think we can talk about this game a little bit, but it was very one-sided. I think they just played the map correctly the way they wanted to. They played the draft correctly the way they wanted to, and they made sure that their earlier power spikes than the enemy had, were just used effectively to take over the whole map. I think it's going to be very difficult for Verdant to get back into game number 2, because the mental stack right here is very high. Multiple members of Verdant were basically not able to play the game at all, so I'm interested to see in what they can do in game number 2.
Yeah, I don't hate the strategy that they were using in this game, but ultimately the pure quality of Absolved's roster really shone through here. They were outmaneuvering, especially in that bot lane. The difference was quite stark, and I think that was enough for Absolved to just ride it all the way through to a win. We're going to send it back to the desk to break down that first game in this Absolved Verdant Academy series just a little bit more.
Hello and welcome back, and I feel like that is exactly how it is. Thank you, Trajan, coming through with it. It's about quality, not quantity, even though the quantity of kills, you know, definitely was outweighed on one side. I feel like at the end of the day, it's kind of what we talked about before, right? Like, I do want to preface it with, you know, we broke it down. If there's a lead, if there's a strong mid game, if there's a strong early game coming out from the side of Absolved, it's going to be very hard for Verdant to kind of stabilize and like bring themselves to the late game. If they had been able to stabilize, there's a world where they could have really taken over the game, and like it could have actually become very problematic for the side of Absolved. But Absolved are really good, you know, they're really good. They seem really clean cut, and they're not making many mistakes, and I think that's the big thing, Bloxer. They're just not giving you opportunities. So if you don't take them, and if you don't have the opportunities and tools to basically make them make mistakes, it's very hard to win.
Absolutely. I think that is most amplified by what we saw in the mid lane. In the bot lane, we were kind of expecting it. Rhythm and Beanlord completely took over. Top lane, you were still kind of just taking over, which we weren't necessarily expecting so much. But mid lane is where we thought, hey, Influentic can really take over this lane. You're sat on top of a Cassiopeia as well, which is one of the best champions for just, hey, you hit that Noxious Blast on someone and you just walk at them and press Twin Fangs. You've won that lane. Congratulations. You get you to past 200 to collect your gold. But it just didn't happen. There were no mistakes. Emil was just chill. He was just taking what he was given. It didn't matter. Then he was moving to bot lane to get involved. Then he was moving to top lane to get involved. It's so clean. It doesn't allow any of the players from Verdant who maybe could have stepped up to carry this game to ever actually dig their teeth in and get anything going.
Rob, a lot of thoughts in your head. What's the takes? What's the takes for this one? Because it wasn't the strongest performance from Verdant. Let's just be nice about it.
Yeah, I think it was quite brutal. I think we said before the game, like, the bot lane matchup was going to be very hard. I think it was very hard. Rhythm looked really, really good on Varus this game. You know, he's playing that lethality Varus, which I think is the hardest way to play that champion. You know, the on-hit or the AP variant. It's actually quite easy. Like, being able to play poke Varus and just put off so much damage there is insane. And just overall, they weren't really able to stabilize this game. They kept trying to make plays around bot. Like, they were always first to play bot side on Absolved, but it wasn't just that they got 1 kill, they got, 3 kills. And then when you start like giving over that much gold early on into a comp and to a player like Rhythm, it's very, very hard to make it work when you now can't take your camps. You're not able to. Bot lane is dead at, like, I think it was like 10 minutes, or not even that, it was like 8 minutes or something. How do you play when there's no space for you to make anything happen and to stabilize, to make your team fight comp actually work? They really need to go back to the lanes and go from there, in my opinion.
Let's roll this VT. Let's have a little look into the glimpse of the game. I feel like it's the only one that we're going to show. But Bloxer, I'll let you break this one down, because it's a moment where, we get a bit of reprieve.
Yeah. It's one of these moments where, and this replay goes on for a very, very long time. I hope we keep playing it all the way until it stops with a fight that ends during the tier 2 tower, even. This is very much a little bit of over-aggression coming through right here from Absolve. They're way stronger than their opponents right now. They think they can keep going, and you finally do give over a kill to Verdant. But again, it's not this moment where you're worrying so much. This is kind of what you expect at the point of the game at which this is. It's right here, where you just watch Soimu walk at these people. You cannot be having this happen. You're getting 2v1s right now by a Poppy. You're getting chased into the backline right now. Emil, over the wall, is going to pick himself up this kill. He does then flash into wall a few seconds later, right? We've got to highlight that was particularly funny to watch in the moment. But all that led up to this moment is why this is such a complete and utter disaster for Verdant. As Rob was saying, the way that you're just constantly funneling gold into these best-in-class players, and then you just take it onto the rest of the map, right? There wasn't even really anything too much to be fighting for up here at this point in the game, but you put down the Herald, you get yourself a tower and a couple of kills, and it's just, there's no fight back from Verdant. They get that 1 kill, which is the only kill they get the entire game. But that is way more about you going too far forwards as Absolved, feeling too confident, than it is in any way about what they were really able to get done as Verdant themselves.
And I think one thing that we can kind of see in the clip here, that might just be this game. Maybe we see Verdant kind of come back refreshed, a little bit different, but it felt like a lot of indecision in that fight, because we see Cassante going in, but then Cassiopeia backing off, and the Caitlyn and the support, like, just kind of in but not really in. Like, the Seraphine's not committing, but then they're committing, and then they should recall, but then they don't want to because they're Cassante's there. Like, it's a lot of indecision, and one that essentially, like, doesn't lead them to a singular thought. And I will say, like, I think this is a big understated point in League of, like, I do think that if you in League 100% the wrong idea, you could potentially win. But if you 50% the right idea, then it's like you're always going to lose. And I think that's kind of what we saw a little bit there from Verdant. But there's another game. There's a whole nother game that 2 people have predicted will be a win for Verdant, and that's CJ Trajan. He's a smart guy, and the prophet himself, J-Real. Rob, I don't even know why you're looking like that when you're the one that gave me that nickname, Rob. So it is what it is. That's how it's going to be, and I feel like this could be a big second half. So do not go anywhere. Stay tuned. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we'll break down game number 2.
Oh, Malphite. All right, here we go. Just
Still going for this space. You would as Chimera super low.
They're in trouble, but there's the Rakan coming in for the shielding. The shielding again. Oh my
God!
They lose.
And everyone bow down to Venom Crest. Two-time champions. Bow down to Jay.
And we are back once again. A little break, a little time to refresh the mind, to set yourself up for success, because Verdant are here to play. They are looking to take a win from Absolved, and I feel like it's a tall task. You know, let's not be fully gassing it up. Let's not fully huff the hopium, right? Hopium, like, you got to at some point look at it and realize it is a tough game to win. Because Rob, I feel like Absolved, not only are they like good, but I feel like people also kind of have this little bit of like, oh damn, they are really good, so we need to play like a little bit crazy. I feel like just play the simple game. Let's play some meta stuff, see how you do.
Yeah, I think the Absolve game series, or if you want to call it a series, versus Nuclear Vikings may have made some people a little bit more a little bit more hesitant on rating that team quite highly, because there's lots of moments in that game where Nuck had got leads, like in the KO Rumble match and things like this, and some people were going, is Absolve really that good? Well, it looks like actually, yes, they are. Yes, they went 1-1 against Bandits, but overall they've had some really good performances in the league so far, and I think that if you are going to play them, you can't get too funky with it. The one thing I want to say is that Podex looks better when he has a chance to run the map. As in, it's a matchup in the jungle where he can choose to do so. Like on that Neferi game versus Bulldog, it didn't result in a win, but he looked really good. In that game versus Rise, on the Aatrox versus the Mundo, he didn't let Cure get a single respawn of his Raptors. So I think Podex, for me, is the point in Verdant you need to be looking at to actually generate these leads, because I don't think you can look at the individual lanes and be like, they're going to just be winning on their own 2v2.
Okay, well, let's see how this one runs. We are seeing, obviously, side swap. Blue side now for Verdant. I do wonder how that will change the draft blocks, because obviously we did see a little bit more holding on picks here, but now
I hope it changes the draft in every way, because that previous draft was a mess from both teams. Yes, Verdant get away with it. They find themselves a really good draft in the end. Yeah, it doesn't matter because Absolve still win the game, but there were some really odd bans. We'll look in at the bans, I think, during the gap for the second round, because there was a lot of odd stuff coming through. If I'm right here as Verdant, I just want to be taking away a lot of the top tier bot laners. I don't want to play against Varus again. I don't want to play against Yunara. They've obviously left one of those available right now. Do I think that taking away one of those top tier bot laners actually stops Rhythm from styling on you? Probably not, but it certainly doesn't hurt.
No, agreed. I think, like, well, I mentioned it before, Varus, pretty dangerous. You know, it feels good, it's strong, so why not just get rid of it? It's a very good pick that clearly Rhythm knows how to play well. I am also thinking, and maybe I'm delusional for this, but Yunara definitely on my mind in terms of picks that just you don't want to be given over to someone that's doing really well.
It's one of the stronger ADCs on the patch. I think if you are Rhythm, you don't really. I just think he's so good on every champion. He has a lot of picks. Yeah, he's got like champs in his back pocket, like the Jhin. Rhythm's Jhin is also really good. He's got a great core key. So I think for him, like, he doesn't mind too much about getting the Yunara. He can just take anything.
I guess that makes sense, you know, like the beats are normally on 4. And he's got that rhythm, so like I do kind of get it. Like I'm hearing that from him. Like, but either way, we got the Rumble. Why do you hate that so much? We've got Rumble coming back in the top side.
Rumble. Anyway, back to the game and not your terrible sense of humor. Rumble first pick, not surprising. They're taking it away from Soimu. It's Caitlyn Karma, everyone. The UKEL loves Karma, apparently, and it's here to stay. Not that surprising for Resolve to take this. They still think, I'm guessing, Walker maybe has a great Karma on him, or is one of his most played. It also gives Rhythm freedom to play bot lane as much as he wants, so not surprised to see it picked up. I am wondering if it's going to be an on 3 for Absolved. That's what they picked into Rumble in the past against Loopy. It did seem to be pretty good for Soimu in that matchup. The Ashe, I don't know what you're pairing with the Ashe. Are you going to go Seraphine again and just go Ashe Seraphine? It's a possibility, but I don't know how you're ever getting pushed in this bot lane now, really, with the Varus ban and then with the Karma being taken away. And the bot lane didn't go well last game, so I think if they aren't going to get push, Podex needs a champion that can influence that bot lane early.
Can we not also just get Galio coming out on the top side on Absolved like that?
It's a possibility.
The potential is high. We've got Seraphine, you've got Rumble. That's already 2. Ashe not very mobile. You know, I'm here for it, but at the same time, we'll see how they lock this one in. They may wait a little bit longer. Is there also potential Rumble in the jungle? I don't know. Maybe I'm cooking too much here.
I wouldn't in this situation. I think right now you kind of just need yourself that level of strength up in the top lane. We talked about the top lane as potentially being that exciting place right here. Synapse, I think his Rumble's been okay. He's not really been able to pop off on it from what I can remember recently, but still, I think he's going to be fine in this matchup, especially versus the Ornn. You shouldn't get pushed around by the Ornn. Obviously, we all know the Ornn can occasionally pop off. For Verdant, what they just need is some level of committal engage. They've got the non-committal engage at this point, right? You throw out the Seraphine ulti, you throw out that Enchanted Crystal Arrow and try to make it stick, but you need something that can then go in alongside it. Something, I don't know, like the Wukong could have been fun.
Let me wager you.
To get rid of that one.
Rek'Sai.
Okay.
Dodge Seraphine.
He's another one. He's doing it again.
Commits. Like I'm just saying, it works here. Just saying.
So do you want them to? Bloxer wants them to pick Warwick. You want to play? You want to pick Rek'Sai?
No,
like you're just gonna. Where's my one trick?
No,
Where's my one trick in
Warwick.
this game? Let me be happy and see it
Warwick
play.
on my screen. Every time
just
the UKL
you
picks
play
Warwick, it's
Ash
bad.
and
No.
you got your boring pick on the screen, like let me have my pick on the screen. This
Talking
is
about
an
picks on the
interesting way to
screen.
engage.
He's played this before, Uki. He played it in the first game versus Bandits. He looked ridiculously good at Kiana. He basically ran the entire map and sent Bandits to early grave in that game one. So this is not that surprising. They've got quite a good framework already with the Ornn and the Caitlyn. It lets you pick like a more aggressive, assassin-y jungler here, and the Kiana honestly makes a lot of sense. Jungle here, though, for the side of Verdant, both Jarvan and Xin Zhao taken from the board, and Nocturne and Wukong. You wanted committal engage. There's Vi, I guess. And then it's
okay.
On top of that, you're gonna go like Orianna. Orianna is the next pick, just so that you have some way of like instantly killing Caitlyn. Play it a bit like a the sort of standard, not front to back team fight comp, but you just instantly kill the carry peeling backwards. I could see that. Yeah. Aurora is available for Influentic if he wants it, so that's also a possible pickup here. But I'd quite like an Orianna, just because I think that gives you, enough facilitation on top of all the other CC you're bringing in.
I don't know that the Orianna saves you in this situation, because yes, you immediately blow rhythm up, but then Emil just destroys you in the backline. Also, yeah, knowing the way that Influentic likes to play, he likes to be very aggressive. I think the Orianna is one of those champions that he can play, he's fine on it, but it's not really the sort of thing he wants to be pulling out. The Yone isn't exactly what I would have thought you'd go alongside. I mean, it does work pretty well alongside the Rumble. If you can get the combo between those two ults, that's a way to potentially play out this game. It also does kind of give you that committal engage we were asking for. Not exactly in the form we were looking for it, but it does fill a role right here. Still, if he doesn't completely take over this mid lane matchup and just kick Emil around, what do you even do? I say kick Emil around. Sorry. Kick Emil around on the Akali. I love that
I'll be real. R.I.P. Kobe and Walker. Long game for them. Long game for them right now. Kiana Akali. This is a long day at the office right here. I was kind of thinking, okay, I like the Vi initially, but then when they picked Yone, I was a little bit like, why don't we see something like a Sedge? Because it would have been really good at kind of counteracting an assassin like the Kiana. Also very good lockdown with the Sejuani immediately, plus could also match up a little bit in the front line with the Ornn. And you have the Rumble and you have the Yone. Like, I feel like, for me personally, that would have been more of a lean in, like maybe like something a little tanky. They also could have even gone a little cheesy and gone Rammus, because, Kiana and Caitlyn, it's a lot of AD. It's still you're a tank. But Vi, Rob, what's going on? You look really upset. You look in pain, to be honest.
I think it's going to be quite a difficult fight game for Verdant to play. I think once they've then gone towards the Vi and the Yone, so you're guaranteed diving forward. You're not cutting back with that. Vi can play two modes, but in this game, that's absolutely going to happen. You've gone for the Vi Rumble combo, so I guess if you are Rhythm, you're a bit scared. But everyone else on the team, unless Verdant are quite far ahead and therefore they can pull the trigger on targets that are out of position. I think Absolved have an ability here to play some pretty disgusting off angles and flanks with like Akali threatening your back side with the old Ashe and Seraphine not being able to actually play, and then the Ornn can then pick a target very easily with the Call of the Forge God. I think this is quite a very simple game for Absolved to play out, which was not what was in the last game, and we saw them completely wipe Verdant off the face of the earth. If you are Verdant here, I think you're going to have to get quite a fed Yone early on, and then never give space for Absolved to actually set up how they want to around objectives. How are you entering into Caitlyn traps and Ornn ultimate into a River versus a Kiana? If they can solve that problem, maybe they win the game. But I think that might be on the list of the Millennium problems where you get £1 million for solving it in mathematics, because this is not happening. It's going to be so hard if Absolved are first to any objective.
Can I also
I think
ask,
Verdant have to play fast.
Is lethality Caitlyn still a thing? Is that like crazy high damage ultimate with maybe like the Q just kind of piercing through? Because I was just thinking about like the potential for them to also just add to the assassin line, because we do got to think that Caitlyn might be a little bit alone, like if half the team's already moving forward, but obviously as you said, you can play back with the Karma and the Ornn.
Yeah, like even if the Caitlyn explodes, like in this composition, and the Caitlyn is probably not actually going to be the majority of your damage unless you are kiting backwards, in which case fine, that will be really useful, and I'm sure Rhythm will be able to play that out well, but it's very much going to be about Emil and Ukti just assassinating, blowing up the members of Verdant. If they're able to survive that initial bit of engage, then there is some potential. And, you know, as much as we're talking about ease of execution for Absolved, getting into these fights could be tricky if you play backwards well enough as Verdant, if you're constantly having to walk through a big equalizer, let's say, or there's constant slow coming out from Kobe. There's a chance that you can make this work. I very much am also agreeing, though, that Influentic getting 20 kills in the first 6 minutes maybe wins them this game. Otherwise, I think it is going to be a bit tough.
It's brutal. I think objective fights are going to be very hard. You've got to commit to the bit here, Verdant. I'm not against you doing that, but you are going to have to just blow everything initially to get a couple targets and then move on to the objective, because you're not going to be able to play slow fights. You're not going to be able to sit there and play standoffs. You're going to not be able to let Caitlyn set up traps, or Ornn to get the Call of the Forge God he wants. You've got to all pressure Arky at the same time onto a couple targets. You've got Vi Rumble, you've got Yone to play on top of that, and you've got the Ash Arrow to maybe pick someone out of position initially for those ultimates then come up on top. You can do that. It's just, in a stable game, I think Absolved have an easier time of playing. And last game wasn't stable, and I think what they've done here is they've thrown everything and said, we're just going to go in and fight. And I respect that from the side of Verdant.
Yeah.
I think this could definitely trip up Absolved, but for me it's an Absolved win.
Well, it feels like we're going to need a main character moment from Influentic. Will they have the power of anime and friendship on their side? We'll find out. But Trajan, Nick V, take us into game 2.
Thank you, Jay. If it needs to be a main character moment for Influentic, Nick, we've got the Yone, and that is what brought Verdant their strongest game win so far of the season. So if they're going to bet on that as a win con, sounds like a good idea to me.
Yeah, like when we were watching in the green room, we were like, where's the late game for them? But then the Yone came in, right? We were worrying about the Ornn. The Ashe kind of shreds through an Ornn, but then like how long can an Ashe really survive in the face of killing Karma Kiana Ornn, right?
Yeah.
So the Yone being there, it is a risky pick, I think, but with a Vi, with a Rumble, you have a lot of synergy with them to make sure that you get some kills. Like Vi Rumble, we all know how powerful this duo is. You lock someone down, you put the Rumble ultimate down, and someone just almost dies at the very least. And then you have Yone who just jumps at them as well, and you make sure to just get some kills. So for an Academy, I like the draft. I just worry a little bit for Absolved instead this time. They took the Caitlyn. They were like, okay, I'll teach you how to play this champion.
Yeah.
I wonder about the Akali pick into Yone, because Yone is one of those champions that scale very well. It's pretty hard to kill at the same time. But Emil, I guess, just wants to play the flashy champion, and he's very confident in playing that as well. And we're kind of at the stage where confidence wins you games.
Yeah, I mean, Emil, if I had to peg him down to a playstyle, you know, Echo is kind of the Emil classic, and it's sort of mid-game, high mobility, high outplay potential, carries in the mid lane. I think that's his comfort zone, at least stylistically. I had no problems with his Ahri last game either, so I think this should give Emil a little bit of room to breathe. Now, it is going to mean that Influentic might be under a bit of pressure, and he's going to have to withstand it, and that for me is the real crux here. Is ultimately, I thought Verdant's draft last game was okay, but ultimately the weakness of the lanes really came back to bite them, and they never got even a sniff of their comp, basically, because they were down 17k by 23 minutes, and the Nexus exploded. So we're going to need to see Verdant hold up a little better under the onslaught that Absolved will be bringing down on their heads this game, Nick. Otherwise, I fear it might go the same way.
Absolutely. I think the bot lane is the biggest question I have for Verdant right now, because they did pick Ashe Seraphine, which is a pretty strong duo. We've seen it earlier today as well. But Caitlyn has a ranged advantage against the Ashe. Ashe does poke quite well with a W, but as long as Caitlyn just stands behind the minions, there's not really much that Ashe can do against that. And so if she chooses to go for like a W anyway, or Seraphine throws spells through minions, it means that they auto-push.
Oh, we're doing the classic double summoner spam in the bot lane early level 1 trade. An LCK birth strategy, I believe, to just burn those summoners for lane advantage. Now, it kind of works, but ultimately the overall HP totals are still pretty even. And oh my word, Nick. It's a first blood in mid lane, and Emil's already picked it up.
I said it was questionable, but Emil, I will never question you again.
Yeah. Sorry, buddy. And you know what, observers? I didn't expect it either. So I probably wouldn't have been looking. I would have been looking at bot lane too, because that's where the scrapping should have been happening. Influentic. I see that we've lost our exhaust and we've died at level 2. Emil burned the ignite, but both flashes up, so a bit of a catastrophe again in the mid lane for Verdant Academy. He's gonna have to shake that one off and start again.
I wonder if this is like the Korean solo queue Akali strat, what he did by getting the passive off real quick and using ignite. You actually proc the electrocute to get the early shove in a lane, and maybe Influentic just didn't respect that, and then Emil just went for the kill.
Yeah, and we can see, you know, he's trying to get some trading back. He's going to find the knock-up and slide back to the body. So it's a good start to round 2 of the lane, as tough as the first one was. But he's going to have to go into boots and a Dark Seal, as Kobe does have the Ranger's focus and is starting to spam down Rhythm and Being Lord, given the respect that is required. But yeah, we're going to have to keep a close eye on this mid lane, because if you give Emil a gold lead with the Dark Seal as well, this could start to snowball out of control.
This time we don't see the AD carry having a healing reduction, so every trade that Ashe Seraphine makes, if it's even, it's actually winning for them. Because Seraphine just, in this case, will actually heal all of that off. Well, Karma, technically, yes, she does have a heal, but it will always be less than the Seraphine, who could just basically spam it until the mana is out.
We got a glimpse of top lane there as well, and this Rumble was the opted first pick for Verdant Academy. They prioritized the Rumble for Synapse above everything else, so they, you know, we're expecting to see some sort of return on that investment in the draft. Soimu going back to the Ornn, which he has taken at least once before, and is actually something of a specialty for him, as it turns out. So he's gonna have to, oh dear, Rootki trying to put the screws to bot lane. An early flash from Kobe, not wanting to waste any time. He's still got summoners, he has enough to live, and a root onto Utki almost takes him down, but the Karma! Oh my goodness, I don't know where to look at that play, Nick. I didn't realize Karma was even that low.
I was looking at Kiana, like, is she getting out? And then suddenly the Karma exploded.
Whoops.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
I guess it was a Seraphine
Q.
Q.
I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all eyes on the mid lane, I guess, because this Yone and Akali, they really want to kill each other. Yone going for the -2. Rumble.
Here. Minus aura, I guess, on this Rumble. He's shoved in. Of course, Soimu is mana gated, unlike the Rumble, but he's have to pop those potions and step away. Soimu has managed to get a back off with that extra HP from the Rejuvenation Beads and the Non-Magic Mantle as well, so he's going to be a little tankier. Okay, so Verdant getting away with a little bit of a murder in the bot side, picking up that kill. They did manage to survive that first gank from Utki as well, but they do now have no summoners on the Ashe, so a little bit more vulnerable. And Utki is known as a bit of a volatile, bit of a live wire jungler, is the word that their coach used. So I'm expecting to see this Kiana on our screens again before too much longer.
Well, mid lane being pushed in, Yone really suffering, trying to get the CS, because like the trades are going pretty well, I feel like, for the Yone player here, but Influentic just gets nothing if we look at the minions.
Yeah, he's starting to really fall behind right here. He's gonna get the root onto Kobe, of course, doesn't have those summoners, remember. Kane's gonna choke him down, and it's just a kill. Easy 2v2 pickup. Rhythm and Beanlord really just know the strength of their champs. He had that BF sword, it was more than enough.
Was it really a 2v2? I feel like the Seraphine was just walking after the Karma, because like the snare was already hitting, the Ashe was already standing still, and then Caitlyn just bursts her down with a couple of crits. So the Ashe is a champion who really needs to scale in order to become that tank slayer that she really can be. But if she's going to stay behind of the AD carry and Caitlyn really snowballs well, it might be a repeat of game 1. It is going a bit slower than then, but I do worry about Verdant once again.
Yeah, they need to put the brakes on somehow, you know, and we could see that the Ashe was going for maximum attack speed, right? Triple daggers then into Zerker Greaves and another dagger left over here, whereas the Caitlyn just went full damage. And again, just like the Varus, stacks AD and has enough burst to get the job done. Now, Podix is going to commit the ult onto Soimu here. He's going to flash back. It's just going to be an R for flash trade. But to be honest, this is earlier than we saw Podix on the map last game. So we do need to see a little bit more out of this jungler. And he is starting to try and make an impact at least.
Absolutely, that's really what I do like. Podex really had no chance of playing in game number 1, but at least he gets some space in game number 2. What I do worry about, because you did mention that the Ashe only has attack speed built in, like with each level up that you get, you gain armor passively, right? It's in your level ups. But if you don't build AD to counteract that, suddenly that attack speed that you have, they still deal 0 damage with every shot that you have, and that is why I don't like attack speed in the early game. I feel like you should always have damage builds.
Yeah, and so I feel like the DPS checks just are not going to go in the favor of Verdant Academy, especially now following that kill and the CS lead starting to widen in Rhythm's favor once again, as that early kill did go over to the Seraphine as well, so no extra gold for Kobe there. We'll have to keep an eye on, see if they can stabilize. They do at least still have, you know, decent range to farm and try and hold themselves on the tower, but that's not necessarily going to be enough to win the game, as Absolve now, once again, over 1,000 gold in the lead, only a few minutes into this second game. UKE now heading onto this top side, Emil strong as well, and the lanes are just a bit of a nightmare for them, and Synapse, the only guy who's up in CS, is about to receive his punishment for daring to try and make a play and trying to take dominance over this lane. The Ornult's going to keep him in place. Kiana's round the corner. He's going to clean this one up without too much trouble. Equalizer, not nearly enough to burn through that Ornn.
Ornn is the counter against Rumble as well. You can say Gwen, you can say Ornn, whatever the case, this Rumble is not going to like what he's going to face off against in this top lane when he is going to be back into the top side. Also losing a lot of minions as well by pushing that. So the home guards, yes, it does help out, but it won't be fast enough in this case.
Definitely Influentic trading his exhaust essentially for a shuriken flip from Emil, who still has Flash Ignite and the perfect execution. There's a lot of threat now onto Influentic as Podix is trying to get a steal going. He's going to actually have the ult. There's the CC chain onto this Akali into the Shroud. She goes flashes away. One auto left, but they can't complete the kill. A flash in, though, they're going to try and turn onto Rhythm. A flash away from the Caitlyn now to get them away. Influentic about to snap back to the body. They need some way to get the grasp onto somebody, anybody. They turn onto Beanlord, as meanwhile Influentic was chopped down by UKE and Verdant. They just cannot get any of the kills over the line, and are left stumbling back to the bot lane tower as Ruki's in with an ultimate. Almost takes 2 for 1, but it's a single kill off the ultimate from Kiana, and now Verdant have to abandon the turret.
It's essentially the same thing again with the Ashe. When you have attack speed, yes, you can just use your passive over and over, but then where's the damage? There's no kill threat at all. And that's exactly what we saw. If there was like even I forgot the name of the item. Yes, just a longsword. You would have actually killed the Akali right then and there, but because there wasn't and only attack speed, there was just too many defensive stats on the Akali. Emil did die in the mid lane, so shout out to the observers for showing that off. I had no clue. But it again,
to minions, I think. So, oh well.
Someone has to kill you.
Yeah. As long as he didn't do so, no gold given over, but we'll have to hold that, we'll have to ruin his stat line slightly, but yeah, it is just another, the margins are so fine there that Verdant, 3 separate champions they tried to make plays onto, none of them go down, and then they're the ones getting punished as UKE, who's now 3-0 with the Kiana. He dominated the Bandits previously with this champion, and is now on the verge of doing the same to Verdant Academy. He's so strong in this pick, and is accelerated out the gate with gold too.
I feel like pretty soon you should probably let the Rumble rotate towards the mid lane, because yes, right now you don't win against the Ornn anyway, right? So you want to make sure that the Rumble Vi combo actually is going to be online, as Akali is in a 2v1.
No flash ready. Podix with the ultimate to try and stick to them, but now Beanlord's going to be in there. Has damage and shields to offer. The Caitlyn ultimate as well dissuades any further action. And Ashol crashes into Karma's side, but will not be able to set up another kill. Sadly, Verdant's playmaking again fizzles, and this leaves the Dragon fully exposed.
Trying to make plays all across the map, but they really do nothing right now. In every single lane, again, just like game number 1, is losing. And I struggle to realize how do you want to pull this back. Like, something needs to change in the lanes. So I feel like Rumble Vi, I think that duo, even when you're behind, is still super strong. But you need to be able to use it, because right now I haven't seen it done once.
Yeah, it's just we've not really able to see that come through. There's been so much pressure on this mid and bot lane. It feels like Podix has been trying to do his best to deal with them. And, you know, as strong as he is going to be very, very squishy. The CC options that Verdant has with Ashult, Seraphine, Vi, you know, Yone knockup combos as well. If they can find one member once they have a bit of damage, once they have some items completed, they will be able to one-shot basically everyone who's not Soimu. Any of these targets will be one-shottable by Verdant if they can find picks, but they have to have at least one toe still on the map for that to come through. They need to get these items somehow. And last game, they were not given a chance. Absolve just barreled over them. They got the lead, and they did not stop all the way through. Now, as you mentioned, it's a little bit slower pace, or it feels like a little bit of a slower pace this game. If Verdant can keep slowing them down and just hold on to a bit of map control, maybe there's somewhere they can go here.
Well, at least there are angles. Yone is, I think, one of the strongest scaling champions in the entire game. So as long as you can facilitate him in like a side lane, for example, and give him the farm that he really needs to, it's still, you can still manage this game, right? But if you keep him mid lane, as you do now, against an AD carry support, he gets to do absolutely nothing. So I feel like they're just going to sack the mid wave, the mid tower actually, in favor of getting Yone into a side lane, so that, you know, you can still safely farm. You kind of, at this stage, don't want to push mid tier 2 anyway, because it's pretty easy to collapse onto the mid tower. And at least, you know, you get the farm on the Yone. Actually chasing down the Ornn.
I mean, there's going to be no help for them. They've got to commit something. They've got the flash down. Here comes the call of the Forge God. Kobe's got to be a little careful about this. Exhaust used to slow him down. Podix has arrived with a cease and desist as well. This kill is going to happen one way or the other. Kobe picks it up. Either the Ashe or the Yone would have been nice, but at least they get some sort of kill on the board. Now Synapse is going to receive the cross-map play. I don't think this is going to take quite as long as that Ornn kill, I'll be honest. The ults committed are enough. Wrathray burning, and Synapse actually with a critical shutdown. That is massive that he gets away with that gold.
That is huge for the Rumble player here, getting some gold into his pocket, becoming stronger, and the entire time he was able to just lane all he wanted to. Yes, Ornn is pretty strong against Rumble, but if we look at the CS numbers, Rumble will still be fine. So right now, Synapse is the win condition for Verdant Academy. The only question is, can you abuse this Rumble right now? And who are you going to try to lock down with the Vi?
Certainly, I think we need to get this Rumble ult into on top of these other targets, right? We need to get him out of his own lane. He's not having any fun. So it's pretty boring for him, right? And it seems like they're swapping them over. They're going to go and send Influentic over. Should have a much easier time farming it out, especially against an Ornn that has rushed Kayn at Grookern, so he does not have too much armor to speak of. But we need to get this Rumble ultimate on top of the critical targets to try and use it while it does have a bit of power in the draft. Rhythm and Beanlord trying to make a play, but actually they're the ones who have maybe overstepped here. Flash is in, and another misstep. The heals and shields barely keep Beanlord breathing, but absolved with another almost misstep. But here comes the punish. Emil goes slap bang into an Ashe ultimate, drops into the shroud, rooted by the beat drop. Utki cannot get in range. Here comes Soimu though, locking down Podix. The Ornn knockups for days, and now Utki into the jungle corridor, has a lot of places to get an ult charge off. Vault breaker from Podix, escapes back to top tower. And Verdant all get away alive. We don't see that too often, to be honest.
Oh, I was looking at the Yone like, oh, you might not be safe because Kiana and Ornn might collapse. But pulled away fast enough while Rumble takes this bottom turret at the same time. So Verdant actually making pretty big plays here on the Rift. This is exactly when Ashe actually doesn't mind the attack speed anymore, actually wants to build attack speed because of the Kraken Slayer. Every third hit, you actually get bonus damage. So that makes sense right now. It just didn't make sense to me to start it off with.
Interesting that Oki's actually been forced away from this right now. Wasn't too healthy, and the Vi ultimate committed just to keep him low. Influentic is there. Rift Herald secured by Verdant. If they can just step away right now, that's a clean win on the map. And to be honest, that's a few W's in a row that Verdant have strung together. They've managed to stabilize the gold deficit. It's been around 3k for a while and is no longer getting any wider. If they can keep this playmaking to stop Absolved gaining any more momentum as they did last time, that might be critical. But Synapse, unfortunately, has been caught up by Emil. Flashes over the perfect execution. Sadly, Rhythm is there to E forward and secure with one last auto, but he just about escaped the 1v1.
They just shifted from the mid lane, right? You push out mid wave while there's a play on the bot side, and then suddenly you just collapse on them, get a kill. And with the Drake spawning as well, that is so much into the pocket of Absol. But we see a charge here onto the top lane, so at least some gold back, but not the first blood on tower.
3 Drakes now stacked up already for Absolved here before the 17-minute mark. It's an Ocean Rift, which Verdant are probably going to be thanking their lucky stars for. It's not something a bit more destructive like an Infernal or a Hex play. I don't know if this is safe, Influentic, I'll be honest. He's just going to get knocked out. Thankfully, he can snap back to his body with some Yone technology there. So, yeah, it was a great angle found by Rhythm on that bot lane just to secure that kill. And Synapse with a little bit too much confidence in the bot lane, stepping up against an Akali. So they do lose out a little bit on the map there. But yeah, still, Verdant, at least they are able to find that route. Their Herald play top lane, they're getting something done. You know, it's not just a purely losing play for them.
Well, Caitlyn built a second item just now. Will do extra damage, max range.
Oh dear.
No, Udyr is not in this game. That was the last set, actually.
No, despite the fact that Synapse is in it, there is no Udyr. Yeah, and the Hex Optics, I've seen even people starting to first pick this item and just complete it out the gate. I don't know if you feel like it's really that strong yet, but it does seem like the usual suspects are starting to get value out of it.
I don't think yet, but maybe on some champions, the item will actually receive buffs next patch where the max damage range will actually already be triggered at 500.
Oh, Codex has been drawn into a fight that maybe they didn't have the teammates for. All 5 members of Absolved are up in that top jungle, and Verdant did not have the space to be contesting that one. They'll quickly lose jungle support, and now Synapse finds himself not quite close enough to the tower. He's going to get torn apart by the Absolved members, and 3 quick kills over to red side.
And again, just because the Fog of War is not on the side of Verdant at all, even their own jungle is just not safe. Look at the ward placements, how defensive they are placed right now, right there. While if we also look at the same top side of the jungle, it's full of red wards there, so they can just push all they want and move freely in the topside jungle. It's all just to do with the prep that they've done a minute before that play just now.
Yeah, it seemed like when I saw Rhythm kind of crossing over, I was like, this seems like quite a dangerous place for a Caitlyn to be. Maybe the Vi could turn onto her, but they just had so much support around the corner of Absolved, being very confident, as you say, lots of vision control, and can play aggressively with their strong champions, even with the risk of shutdowns going over, and they get rewarded massively for it. 3 more kills on the board, starting to open up that gold lead once again, after Verdant had managed to slow them down for a good few minutes right now. Going to be looking forward to that Ocean Soul fight, potentially in just over 2 minutes, which give them even more strength pushing in the siege scenarios. Baron hitting the Rift in 30 seconds as well. Any more major losses from Verdant could result in massive objectives going over.
Well, we might...
Oh, they got root. They're going to commit flash onto Rhythm. Flashes over the wall. Clutch decision making by the Caitlyn. And Verdant, they do fire the Ash out, but they'll only capture onto the Karma. They can't get products in for a Vault Breaker, and Uki is waiting for anyone to step too close. This Kiana's going to one-shot somebody, that's for sure. Podix reaching for more, but cannot find it, gets rooted up. Meanwhile, the backline is being shredded by the Kiana. Goes into stealth, following out the carries of Verdant, scattering to the winds. Influentic trying to get in, and will trade with the Kiana. Karma's gone down to side-ups as well, but Rhythm and Soimu now dancing around this rumble. Influentic comes in. Emil arrives late, but arrives on time to find the kill. Ult's now diving forward onto Influentic, and Verdant looks like they had a foothold in this fight, but it's still the ace for Absolved at the end of it.
I think that's a pretty important fight actually for Verdant. They were really duking it out, getting 2 kills against 2 as well, but then they kind of greeted forward just a little bit too far. Influentic going in with the Yone E, and then suddenly Akali gets enough time to roam and join the fight as well. If they just left it like that, then there would not be any fight around the Drake. But at least because of the ward setup earlier from Absolved in the topside jungle, make sure that that Absolved is not able to start that Baron, because I felt like that was the plan for Absolved to do. But because of this, it will simply be delayed. And now with the Drake spawning, it will be a fight around that soul.
Absolved, once again, a slightly slower path to take, but they are once again showing the individual talent is there in spades for this new roster. Despite the shaky first couple of games, in this year of the Four Nations, they are looking like the threat that we thought they would be. Verdant trying to get control of this midway, but Emil's on the flank, and the backline is already getting swarmed over. Kobe's going to be the first to go down. Seraphine quickly to follow. Emil ulting in to dive and keep the damage going. Will not be able to find purchase on another player, but Influentix round up on the wrong side of the wall. Has to ult to safety. As Seraphine removed Rumble as well. It's 3 more kills for Absolved. They've got Dragons, they've got Barons. It's all on the table.
Ash getting caught just like that. Orange Flash bashes into the wall and stuns her where she stands. She had nothing to do in that fight at all. Kobe was just taken out. That soul is free for Absolved. 4 kills, getting a turret as well. It's not going to be as fast as 23 minutes, but it might still be sub 30.
Absolved with the soul to play for. They've got all the control in the world once again to set up for this Baron. Caitlyn is now starting to benefit from Ornn items with a Masterwork Infinity Edge. No sign of the Caitlyn pain that we saw from Kobe last game. Rhythm opted to take the counter matchup to show him how it's done, and has been performing excellently on this champion with another massive Beanlord Karma game. It's good to see this glow up from Beanlord as well, showing a bit more depth. The supports in this region growing stronger by the season. And Verdant Academy, despite the fact that, again, we like their dang draft, Nick, but we just can't see it play out on the Rift.
Like, at one point you just have to look at the names as well, right? Who to play the champions. We can like the draft all they want, but if you just get outskilled on the map, even if it's like individual or even if it's in team play, it all matters too much. And Absolved just shows us right now they are the superior team. Verdant Academy, there is not much room to fight back here. I feel like what they're doing here is maybe questionable. They need to get gold somewhere, but you also have to be back to base in time, because otherwise, without a Nexus, you can't play the game anyway.
Yeah, trying desperately to look for bounties or anything they can pick up. They're going to hurry back now, buy what they can. We're still trying to scrape together even the approaching third items for Verdant Academy, and meanwhile, Absolved, plenty of their players are accelerating towards the fourth. The critical carries, Utki and Rhythm, are both so rich this game again. They have this wallets to slap them with. Now they're wearing Baron buffs and Ocean Soul to help top them back up if the trades go south, as Podex fishes for a potential Vault Breaker. Cannot catch Emil. Has to hide back behind the base gates, and the Baron waves keep on piling in.
Right now there's a massive lack of armor shred on their side. They try to get a pick, but the Ornn is just too tanky to really hop onto, and you see the Kiana being engaged upon, but nothing happening right off of there. Just snapping back immediately with the Yone. And again, the siege is just way too powerful right now. They need to start a fight.
Influentic took a lot of damage doing that. Still has a flash and ultimate. Podex has the ultimate. Synapse waiting on a potential equalizer to come back to have all their tools ready. They'll lose this top inhib for sure. Ash is going to take a big ultimate to the head from Rhythm as well. Low on mana. They need to just try and, again, absorb as much gold as they can. At the very least, there's no more objectives to lose on the map for the time being. Influentic with a knock up onto Emil, but again, the Karma shields, the Ocean Soul. It's so hard to make this damage stick as the old Call of the Forge Guard comes in. They're going to get a knock up onto Seraphine. Emil's threatening. A flash is used. Synapse dropping lower as well. The next tower under fire by Absolved.
At least Verdant Academy does not die here. There's no chance for Absolved to really stop this game right here and there, right? The Baron is about to run out, the buff gone, and that bot wave still stands. It wasn't pushed far enough to really be a threat as well. So now they actually get to farm a little bit. Verdant is still not done, but it's going to be pretty damn difficult. And it's only 2.5 more minutes for that Elder Drake to spawn.
Being back onto the map, Absolve not wanting to waste a minute. They've caught Influentic as well, desperately trying to clear minions. An ult to safety as the Ignite ticks down. A flash as well from Leone just to keep him alive. A Synapse caught out on the map as well. Absolved have caught Verdant reaching for what possible scraps of gold they can find, and they've picked up kills and summoners already.
It's looking so dire. The Baron buff about to run out here. They still take a turret. They are going to shove all the waves in. And now the only last inhib turret still standing. I feel like it's not long before this game is over.
Oh dear, Rookie flashing in. Does get a little bit of damage down Emil with the first kill. Podex dives in to get one back at least on the jungler. But Emil with the double. And so up this game, and the ace once again. It took them a little longer this time, Nick, to get it over the line. A little bit more resistance from Verdant here, but ultimately, the quality of the Absolve players shines too bright today. And they will sweep them aside with a swift 2-0.
The end result is just all the same. It's still below the 30-minute mark, and I have to talk a little bit about the draft from Verdant here, right? You have a pretty strong draft. There's like a lot of potential that you have in that draft, but if you then don't use the Rumble Vi combo that is so strong, then why have you picked it? I feel like there was never really an opportunity to do it because they weren't playing together. The Vi and Rumble were never together. They were always caught out in a side lane on their own. Vi was hovering mid lane and the top lane while Rumble was in the bot lane trying to shove out, and then she would just always be too late to save the little rat in the machine.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, I think my one-on-one prediction, which looks a bit goofy now, was largely predicated on the fact that I didn't think Absolved were yet playing up the level they needed to, and Verdant Academy, using their drafts, which I think were still decent today, might have been able to find a foothold here. Sadly, Absolved have put a lot of work in over the first couple of weeks, it must be said, and they are looking sharp today. And if everyone else is watching this game, they're going to be on notice, as this Absolved roster is looking very, very scary. Let's pass it back over to the desk to break down that second game and round us out for the day.
Oh, never.
Talking about Dead Time Never, we are back once again. I don't know if you guys heard Rob leading in, but thank you very much to Trajan, thank you very much Nick V for breaking down the games, and Watercast as well. More of that to be seen throughout the split, but let's talk about what actually happened in this game. And look, at the end of the day, Absolved just played better. I think that's pretty much the sentiment to it, right? I think Verdant, they can have some days in the sun, but this was not one of them. But it did start, you know, there were some moments where Absolved also did get caught out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think you see here, like the beginning of the game, they're trying to go for a play here, Absolved, and Gibble ends up dying to minions. It's unlucky. Maybe there was a chance here. We saw, okay, Absolved, they're making a few mistakes. That first game, that's in the past. Let's see if they can make it happen. But honestly, Absolved then, other than a couple little missteps, they really took control of this game. I think everyone honestly played very, very well from the side of Absolved, and you can't really take away from it. They needed to show in this game that they are definitely above the riffraff kind of thing. Like, they obviously went 1-1 with the Bandits, and I think they've done that with this 2-0.
No, they looked really clean. I don't know if we had the second VT locked and loaded, but Bloxer, I feel like as the game goes on, they gain more confidence. Also, the game didn't last super long. They close out these games quite quickly. They're quite clinical. It's exactly what we talked about with some other teams as well in the league. But Absolved, they need pressure put on them. Otherwise, I feel like they just make plays happen.
Yeah, I mean, it very much was a better game here out of Verdant, but a lot of that is because this was Absolved making a couple mistakes. We talked in the first game about how they hadn't really made any mistakes, and that's why you only get a single kill. Well, this one you come out with 5-6 times the amount of kills because of a lot of mistakes out of Absolved, but they were just able to completely take over again, and it was very much that they were taking over all across the map. Influentic tried. He had a couple of moments where he was finding some big ultis, was trying to get something happening, but there was just no follow-up from the remaining members of Verdant, and they just needed a lot more explosivity out of these players to really get anything going. I think that what Rob said during the draft was really crucial. Commit to it. Commit to the bit. You have drafted yourself a whack composition that needs to go in and just get kills. Dive bot lane at 5 minutes into the game and just go from there. They needed to play with a lot more aggression than they were really able to summon. Influentic tried to take over but wasn't able to, and for Absolved, it felt like they weren't ever really push that hard. They were able to just kind of take what was given to them and win both those games, as Nick V said, in under 30 minutes.
But you've also got to, like, give some props to Resolve. Like they did get solo kills, they did get early plays, like they themselves had a lot of tempo, like they really were able to make it happen. And I gotta say, Utki really good on this Kiana, right? I don't think it's necessarily the shining game ever. I think the other one earlier would have definitely been the more highlight free one, but it's still a strong game. It's still a strong performance on a champion that isn't played as often, and once again just shows the power level of Absolved. And I gotta ask, the final question is, do you feel that this changes your opinion on either of these teams? Rob, you can go first.
I'm not going to compare them to when I was like pretty hateful on Inkquick last split, where I felt like teams didn't really do anything and then Inkquick kind of just played the game. I think Absolved are a little bit more proactive than that Inkquick roster, for example. I think they're actually trying to make stuff happen, and they're showing, you know, playing around rhythm. Like, it just obviously makes sense, right? Like, they're kind of putting Soyman on islands, and they've got a game plan going into each of these games. It seems relatively solid. I think my concern is that, for example, the game today, Verdant, we had questions there. They beat Rise, but then they lost to the Dogs. Like, how does that factor into like how we put them on the week 4 tier list or whatever we're going to end up doing? And Absolved should have been beating this team. Like, on paper, we rated them highly. They should be beating this team, and they should be looking as solid as they did today. And it was on Verdant to show up. For me, when Absolved then go and face Broad, for example, who we've had off stream today, and they went 1-1 again. Haha. No, they went. They're 3-3. But I think Broad is an example. Gucci is another example. These are the matchups we need to really look at for Absolved, because at the moment I don't think that on paper they've got like the players are there to test what we're seeing. They're just sort of winning lanes, and then like it's quite easy to play the game out from there for the side of Absolved. They didn't look the best against Nuclear Vikings, and that's not a team we had rating highly. So I think there's a good chance here for Absolved to. They need to keep the momentum going and showing this, because at the moment they're not really being tested.
Yeah.
Okay. Block, so what about yourself? Anything else that you want to add about Absolved? Any looks at maybe Verdant that you feel like has changed? Because I will say, like, I do think Verdant are on the uphill battle. I don't think they're necessarily rated the highest, you know, but they also got some time. Maybe they can have some upsets.
Well, their schedule is also kind of mean to them at the start. Bulldog we're looking at as one of the better looking teams. They managed to get a win off of Rise, which was good. Absolved, again, a better looking team. Bandits is the next test where you're thinking maybe they can 1-1, and Nuclear Vikings, again, another team that's really struggling. That's where you can start putting your feet back under you. And you've got to think about, of course, what the actual format is right here. It is not that the bottom 4 teams go home. It's not that the bottom 6 teams go home. The bottom 2 teams go home. I think Verdant could well get themselves a playoff spot. Now, whether that turns into a big run for them or not, I'm not sure. But I do think they've got exciting pieces. You know, in splits past, we've had teams where you look at it and you're like, wow, there's nothing here. There's nowhere to play through, unfortunately. That's not this team. We keep talking about Influentic, but he's really fun. I think there's places to play through the top and the jungle as well, right? If the bot lane can begin to stabilize, there's gameplay here for them. I'm not counting Verdant out completely. Over on the other side of things, I think for Absolved, I really just need to see them win versus a better team, as Rob said, but I would not underestimate the value of winning the games that you're supposed to win. Here in the UKEL, we have seen top-tier teams that are going 16-0, except they don't. They go 15-1 because they lose to a random nobody that gets knocked out in the first round of playoffs, or even that doesn't make playoffs. So being able to just stack these wins, get that momentum going, is really valuable for Absolved, and I think they've got a really bright future ahead of them.
No, I do. I could not agree more. I think winning the games that you need to win is literally the name of the game, especially in the round robin where like things are a little bit more up in the air. Obviously it does change when we get into playoffs. I think that things do become a little bit different, especially with the fact that you kind of get a bit more time to look at who you're playing against. You have a little more footage, you know that there's a lot more going on. I think playoffs also just adds a little bit of a buff, but we'll see when we get there, because we're only in week 3. We still got a load of weeks left to go in this tournament before we get anywhere close to crowning someone as champion. And yeah, I want to just bring in a couple of scores from the doors. Broad 1-1 again, as you said, Rob.
Inari,
it's a classic. You know, it's a classic Broad moment. Mm-hmm. They love to lose a game.
They've added Coach Mitch. Let's not forget, Big Mitch, Little Pants, whatever you want to call him, Big Briefs. He's come in, and I imagine after that first game, he's cracking the whip. And I think that there is Broad need to, as an aside, we haven't seen him too much on the mainstream. I think Brod's one of those teams we had rated quite highly. They need to step up. Inari, by the way, shout out to Inari, I think, is a team that on the preview show there was like questions over how good they could be. I think we should be considering them at least in the top 5, if not top 4.
They're
I think
really
a lot of
nice with it.
people were very like, are they going to be, is Rise better, is Vern better? I just think Inari at the moment should be viewed in that upper echelon, obviously from the scores, but also just from the gameplay.
From the gameplay, watching Inari play, I think last week I was on an Inari game and I said I think this might be top 3 team, and I got some question marks about that, but having gotten to watch them a little bit more, I really like the way that this team plays. Winning games is obviously awesome, but as we've been talking about with Absolved, hey, you're winning games, but how much do we really stack onto that? Well, for Inari, I've put a lot on the wins that they've been able to pull through.
I want to just bring up Inari versus the Dogs. I don't know, has that happened yet? Because I think that is probably the game. I'm just trying to find it. That's a game that I think is actually a good metric.
That happens next week.
Well, that's wonderful.
No, that happens this week.
That's perfect. Because I actually think that is like a good metric for us here, because the Bulldog went 1-1 with Brod. Inari have now gone 1-1 with Brod. We're looking at Brod, Gucci, Absolve probably to like in a top 4, and I think even though Brod's performances, I want to say, like when they win, they seem to win pretty well. I think they've had a few misplays in their 1-1 sort of situation, and I think I think that game is particularly exciting because I think that game decides what your fourth team is. Not that they are 4th in the league, but rather what rounds out that top 4 discussion is between Inari and the Dogs. That's like probably the most important game, I would say, coming up to assess what the best of the league can do.
Wow, there you have it. Here you go. We don't even need the Saturday show for the breakdown of what you guys need to tune in for, but we are going to close that one out here. Another UKL day is done, but the scores are on the doors. You'll find them posted a little bit later, but for now, we are going to say a good night, and we will see you on Thursday.
Just another vacant race. To think that we're standing their way. Oh, face them up. For we are true to our name. A steaming course. Strike twice. Redeem this world. We'll take our bombs, we'll make amends here. Where the ring down, we must remain. Relive the pain until